Good evening and welcome to the May 15th meeting of Glendale City Council. We're reconvening the meeting that we started with closed session. May we have the roll call, please?
Council members Agajanian.
Present.
Devine.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Najarian. Here. Mayor Sinanian.
Here. Today's flag salute will be led by Councilmember Garpetian. Please remain standing for the invocation by Reverend Rich Garner.
Please join me in saluting the flag of our great nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. As some among us set aside these weeks to take up greater righteousness and increase charity, we pray, O God, that all would see the need for love and justice in this world as one of the ways by which we must interact with each other, many of the works by which we can build up community for all people. Called to serve with every interest and ability, all energy and enthusiasm, you ask us to be leaders within this community, setting us within the city of Glendale, that we would offer that which enriches our lives to others so that our days might be made more meaningful, bringing forth creative purpose and delightful fulfillment. May we be ever mindful that our choices always generate consequences as we move forward together, and may we be granted wisdom and grace in this endeavor. We pray and live ready to respond for the benefit of all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Garner. Mr. Clerk, may we have the report, please?
The agenda for the May 15, 2018 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Friday, May 11, 2018 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you, sir. May we have the next item, please?
Next item is presentation and appointments. At 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of Tuesday, May 22nd, 2018.
Next, yes. Mr. Golanian?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. On May 22nd, 2018, for the Glendale Housing Authority, we have no items. Same day, there's a special meeting of Glendale City Council commencing at 3 p.m. There'll be a report from Director of Community Development regarding AC Hotel located at 120 West Colorado Street, which includes variance for parking accessibility, combined stage 1 and 2 design review, and instrument imposing covenants on real property. Same day in the evening, the City Council commencing at 6 p.m. There'll be 2 consent items. First one from Chief of Police regarding acceptance of grant funds from the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services for the purchase of hardware and software for the Verdugo Regional Crime Laboratory. And the next one will be from a report from Director of Library, Arts and Culture regarding acceptance of reimbursement grant funds for the Mental Health Initiative Grant, Mental Health Resource Fair in the amount of $7,000. Under action items, will be a report from Chief of Police regarding authorization, the execution of purchase order agreements with Aardvark for the purchase of police operational and safety equipment in an amount not to exceed $40,000. And a report from Chief of Police regarding authorization to execute purchase order agreements with Life Technologies and Qui-Gen, I believe, to provide specialized testing equipment, supplies, software, and maintenance for the Verdugo Regional Crime Laboratory, the DNA lab. And report from Director of Finance regarding electric, water, and sewer rates adjustment. And I'd like to note that we have scheduled an additional community meeting for tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock at the Adult Recreation Center regarding the proposed electric, water, and sewer rate adjustments. And the last action item will be from Public Works regarding City of Glendale Neighborhood Traffic Calming Program revisions. On the hearings, there'll be a report from Director of Finance, which includes the budget hearing for the next fiscal year. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Golanian. Next item, please. Mr. Clerk, I think you'll take
Yes.
particular pleasure in presenting this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, 3B is Mayor's Commendation for City Hall Student Ambassadors. This is billed or listed as Cycle 12. That means we've gone through 12 cycles of this. Actually, I'll approach the podium for this presentation. We're calling this a 12th cycle, but truth be told, it's actually a little bit more than that. This program was started back in 2011, so we've gone through 6 years. A number of the student ambassadors have completed this program and have gone on to bigger and greater things. In fact, just this week, in following on social media, some of the student ambassadors who are staying in touch with us, we saw that David Sanchez, one of our student ambassadors who was a Clark alum, is graduating from Harvard this week. And we are proud to announce that one of the student ambassadors that we'll be recognizing this evening has just been admitted to Harvard. So, and that's just 2 of the few and many that have been admitted to prestigious academic institutions who have done this program. The student City Hall Student Ambassador Program is a program that we started to introduce young high school students, regardless of what school they attend to, whether it's a public school or private school. Everyone is welcome to apply basically to civic government, to this process, to city council meetings, with the hope of, at an early age, introducing them to local government, the decision-making process, and hopefully instilling them or planting in them the seeds of one day having them sit where you are and having them become the leaders of this city. So with that, because you've heard this before, I want to, and if for anyone who's interested in having their son or daughter, or if there's anyone watching this who's interested in applying themselves, they can always contact the city clerk's office and find out more about the program by calling 818-548-4000 or going on the city's website at glendaleca.gov and looking up more information under the city clerk's website. I'd like to recognize the individuals that will be showing our appreciation to this evening, and they are Nare Alakhanyan from Clark Magnet High School, Mariam Panikian from Clark Magnet High School, Arani Markarian from Clark Magnet High School. From Glendale High School, we have Sofia Boyajian, William Vartanian, Milena Asaterian, Ale Shabazian, and Ethan Moose. And from Hoover High School, we have Susanna Mikhailian, Evelyn Moradian. And we have, each cycle, we have had folks from Crescenta Valley High School. We've had individuals from Daly High School. So it just varies from cycle to cycle what sort of a collective of individuals we get. These are the individuals who help greet people who come to City Hall, who may be attending their first city council meeting, who may be unfamiliar with how to address council, how to fill out a speaker card, what items are on the agenda. And as you know, the last 4 months have been very, very busy with heavy agendas. We had one meeting that lasted up until, I believe it was, we went until 3 a.m. I think. At least we didn't get home until 3:30, 4 a.m. We don't expect them to stay that late, but they're here at least for the first portions of the meeting to be that first smiling face when our residents come to City Hall. So with that, if you can please join me in thanking these individuals for their service to the city and to the city of Glendale. And if I can ask them to please come and join me to the podium. Those of you who are here, please come up to accept your commendations.
Yes, thank you. Artie, thank you for instituting this program. It's an amazing program that, well, clearly there's a correlation between Harvard and the program, so can't go wrong with that. But it's great to know that as our guests to city council meetings come in, they're greeted by our student ambassadors, and in the process, of course, they get to learn a lot about how city business is conducted. And as you mentioned, in the last 12 cycles, how many total? Do you have a number of how many total have gone through the program? Is it close to 100? At least. Okay, so that's amazing. And I'm going to read just one of the commendations into the record, but it applies to all of you, and you will all receive one. If you'll bear with me for just a second. City Hall Student Ambassadors Cycle 12, in recognition of your participation in the City Hall Student Ambassador Program, I commend your dedication to helping the public during our City Council meetings. Your guidance has benefited residents throughout the community. On behalf of the City of Glendale, I wish you continued success on all of your future endeavors. Zara Sinanyan, Mayor. So thank you so much. You're moving on to better and bigger things, but hopefully this made an impact on you, psychologically and spiritually, and will help lead you to much better and more successful things in life. And we look forward to not only you sitting here, but you sitting in much better places, much higher places, and continuing your contributions to society. So with that, I'm going to ask my colleagues to help me pass out the commendations.
If we can ask the council members to all come down, and
Yes,
we'd like to have a
and we
photo
are going
taken
to
with
do that.
everyone.
We're going to do
Thank
that. Mr. Ajanian? Marty, this is Williams.
Just in time for the picture.
Okay. Next, we have a proclamation designating May as CalFresh Awareness Month.
Good evening.
Hi, Maggie.
Good evening, Mayor Sinanian, council members and staff. I have a group of people with me I'd like to introduce. We have Daryl Baker from the Department of Public Social Services District Office, and we have a couple of our CDBG agencies, which is Essentia, who serve 90% of CalFresh recipients, as well as the YWCA. We have Myrna Cernas from the YWCA of Glendale, who the women and children who attend those programs are also benefits and recipients of the CalFresh program, better known as food stamps back in the day. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Baker to speak, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we're partnering. The Parks Department is partnering with the DPSS to provide a clinic to enroll more recipients in Glendale. Over 11,000 members are, 11,000 residents are eligible for CalFresh in Glendale, and at Pacific Park Community Center and at Maple Park Community Center, we're hosting 2 clinics to get people enrolled. So we're very excited about that. That takes place in May, on May 30th and May 31st. So I'm going to turn it over to Daryl to accept.
Welcome, Director Baker.
Thank you. Thank you, Council, for having us out here tonight. Like she said, we're here to promote CalFresh. It's actually May is considered CalFresh Awareness Month, so we can help get the word out regarding CalFresh benefits to the residents of LA County. There's over 599,000 potential eligible residents that aren't receiving benefits now that we'd like to reach out to receive those benefits. So it's great to have a partnership with the city and our partners that are here with us tonight to help spread the word and get the information out there. There's many different ways to apply for CalFresh benefits. You can do it in person at any of the offices. We have one over on San Fernando Road. You can do it online. You can do it over the phone. You can do it via mail. So there's many different ways to apply for CalFresh. For those of you who aren't really aware of what CalFresh or food stamp does, it helps alleviate food insecurity in individuals and families in LA County. To help them put, with additional resources to help put additional food on the table. So it helps keep elderly family members independent and nourished. It allocates more of their income to basic needs like shelter, helps stretch the budget, and fights hunger to prevent malnutrition. So like we said earlier, we're partnering with our partners. We also conduct outreach at various hospitals, WIC centers, food pantries, community centers, faith-based organizations, and I mentioned there's multiple ways to apply. I did want to mention one thing also, that CalFresh is not considered a public charge, so it does not affect your eligibility to immigration status if somebody's trying to become a resident or a permanent citizen. Food stamps does not affect that negatively at all. So during the month of May, it's a collaborative joint effort to continue to get the information out to the public. So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to share CalFresh information with the council, and I encourage you to continue your support for the program and our partnership. And Mayor Sinani, I'd like to say thank you again for coming out to our office last month for our Armenian Genocide Remembrance.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Wendy, and I'm a current participant of the CalFresh program. I'm a parent of, I have 3 children, and I'm a busy mom. I have my children enrolled in cadets and orchestra on those days. I pick them up from school, and there's hardly any time to go back home and prepare meals for them, and I'm able to take advantage of the hot meal program, which I'm very grateful for. I thank the City of Glendale. I'm current participant over here at DPSS in Glendale on San Fernando Road, and you know, it's been very helpful. It does alleviate a lot of my financial burden that I'm currently struggling. But I'd like to thank you and just encourage anybody that is not receiving CalFresh or that has a need for you know, that extra help to go ahead and apply for this. I'm sorry, nervous for the program. So I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit of my story and encourage those that are in need to go ahead and apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Comoro with Essentia. We're one of the partner agencies with DPSS, and we want to express our appreciation for their efforts to make it easier for folks to get access to CalFresh. We serve about 900 homeless individuals, including people and families, every year, and at least 90% of our folks are eligible for CalFresh. And one of the tasks that our case managers have is to immediately verify whether or not our clients are yet enrolled in obtaining this important resource. So we're here in support of your proclamation today, and thank you for the opportunity to share with the public how much of a benefit this is.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Sagun, and I am the DV Services Manager for the YWCA Glendale. I oversee our emergency shelter and our YWCA Service Center for domestic violence victims. I want to again say thank you for all the benefits that DPSS is able to provide our clients. It is one of the most important services that we feel they need. We assess them as well and just help them obtain those resources at one of the most difficult times of their lives. So we're also here in support of those benefits. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And council members, I just want to add thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. My name is Magda Sellen. I am the housing specialist of the YWCA Glendale. I was a former gain worker, CalWorks, and I was very familiar with the CalFresh CalWorks program. And just to let you know that it's an excellent program for anybody that might feel that they have a financial situation. They don't have a stability. And anybody can apply, and it's an awesome benefit. So thank you. And we're here to support you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have a proclamation for you that I'd like to read into the record. And it states as follows: whereas one of the highest priorities of Los Angeles County is to reduce food insecurity and improve health by increasing access and participation in the CalFresh program, and whereas studies suggest that household hunger negatively impacts the intellectual, physical, and emotional development of children and puts them at greater risks for obesity, diabetes, and other diseases, and whereas CalFresh serves as a significant resource in preventing food insecurity, helping low-income families and individuals increase their food purchasing power and raise their levels of nutrition. And whereas, in an effort to remove the barriers that discharge residents who are eligible for CalFresh but are not applying, the County Department of Public Social Services has launched an aggressive community outreach and social media campaign to increase CalFresh participation. And now, therefore, I, Zara Sinanyan, Mayor of the City of Glendale, do hereby proclaim May 2018 to be recognized as CalFresh Awareness Month and urge all residents to share information about the benefits of the CalFresh program with those who desperately need it most. So special thanks to the County of Los Angeles and DPSS for doing this important work. And City of Glendale clearly is willing and always ready to cooperate in any manner necessary. Thank you. Thank you, Director Baker. Yes, sir. Of course. Councilmember Aljanian has a question.
I'm sorry, may I, can you please repeat? You said there are 599,000 people who are eligible to get the CalFresh help, or they are receiving and there are more people?
Well, those are those that aren't receiving it now, that the state feels or the county feels that may be eligible. So we'd like to try to get them in the doors to see if we can get them their benefits if they're eligible.
So these 599,000 are not those who are receiving. You are expecting that 599,000 people are eligible.
Correct. Yeah. So
And
we
how
have
many people they are receiving?
over 1 million receiving benefits now.
Oh.
Yeah. In our office alone, we have I think 30 or 40,000 caseload just in CalFresh. But yeah, there's a lot more potentially eligible residents of the county and the city that might be eligible to receiving the benefits that aren't. They might not know about it, so that's why we're trying this massive outreach effort, especially in the month of May. But we do it all year long. But May is just considered, CalFresh Awareness Month, so we can help promote CalFresh in more areas and hopefully spread the word so that more people that might be eligible to it can come in and apply and receive benefits.
Thank you.
And just since you're here, your division, your section is the largest in the state, right? DPSS, your office serves the most people. Do I remember that correctly?
Well, yeah, LA County is the largest welfare agency in the country.
In the
Yeah, and then Glendale is, I believe, the third largest office with the most cases in LA County.
Okay, and how many people do you serve approximately total?
We have about 130,000 caseload, but that's not individuals, that's just cases, which could be family members.
I see.
May I,
Yes, one more question?
yeah, just if he can leave his business card that I can pick up maybe to
I
invite
just ordered
him
them, I don't
for
have any, but I can leave you my information.
He's the director of the local DPSS on San Fernando. You can find him quite easily.
Yeah. I'll
Thank you
leave
so
the
much.
information with one of your assistants.
Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next item is
3D is a proclamation designating May 20 through 26 as Public Works Week.
And our Public Works folks are here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor Sinanian, esteemed members of council and city staff. My name is Lisa Rodriguez, and I work for the Public Works Department. We are very proud to accept this proclamation. Every year, our department recognizes an outstanding employee from each of our 6 divisions. I'm honored to be this year's recipient for our Public Works Administration Division. I would like to also present to you the recipients from our other divisions. We have Matthew Binder from Maintenance Services.
Hi, Matthew.
Albert D. from our Facilities Management. And Vazrik Yosefian from Fleet. He is our outstanding employee of the entire department. And there are a few who are not able to be here today, a couple actually. Dean Miner from Integrated Waste Management and David Robles from Engineering. These exceptional employees are a small representation of the hardworking men and women that are proud to serve the community of Glendale. I would like to take this opportunity to formally invite you to our Public Works Employee Breakfast and Open House this Thursday, May 17th at our Public Works Yard. In front of you is an invitation for your information, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Any comments from my colleagues? Okay, I will read the proclamation. Yes?
I just want to say good job by all of you. Great job.
Yeah, great job indeed. I know that you don't hear the praise as often as you deserve, but everyone knows we in the city of Glendale provide amazing services to our residents, and we pride ourselves on it, and you play a pivotal role in that. So it's much appreciated by the leadership in this city, but most importantly by our residents. And on that note, I am going to read this proclamation into the record. Whereas Public Works projects and services are critical to the growth and quality of life in the city of Glendale and are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. Through the efforts of our Public Works Department, Glendale remains a safe and comfortable community in which to reside. And whereas the support of informed citizens is vital to the efficient maintenance and operation of the city's infrastructure, including operations such as street maintenance and urban forestry services, fleet management, traffic and civil engineering, traffic signal management, facilities maintenance and project management, and integrated waste management. And whereas the employees of the Public Works Department are committed to providing daily infrastructure services in a quality manner, and whereas a well-planned, designed, and maintained municipal infrastructure is vitally dependent upon a team of people dedicated to professional excellence, customer satisfaction, and who strive to accomplish their everyday tasks efficiently, effectively, and with accountability to the community they serve. Now, therefore, I, Zara Sinanian, Mayor of the City of Glendale, do hereby proclaim May 20th through 26th, 2018 as National Public Works Week, and call upon citizens and civic organizations in the City of Glendale to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing for our local infrastructure and to recognize the contributions which Public Works officials make every day to the betterment of our residents' health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. And I'm going to ask Alderman to present it.
He's going to run. It's not from here, it's from the back.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Next item is consent items, including minutes following our routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before a motion is proposed.
We have no such request from council or public. Therefore, do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
May we have the roll call, please?
Council members Agajanian?
Yes.
Garpetian, Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is city council and staff comments.
Any of my colleagues have comments? Ms. Devine?
In the interest of time, I don't have any comments,
Thank you, sir.
because I have a full agenda.
You shall indeed.
Want to say that Councilmember Najarian and Garpetian and I went to the groundbreaking or the great, what was it, the celebration
Councilmember
of the
Devine,
sports
your
center.
microphone, please.
I'm glad that
Yes,
wasn't on the air.
yes.
Just wanted to mention that Councilmember Najarian and Garpetian and I went to the grand opening of the Sports Center Field Number 1, which will be home field to the St. Francis Golden Knights. They have put in like $1 million worth of artificial turf. It looks like a professional baseball field. It's absolutely amazing. And so we look forward to them having very successful seasons up there. We're going to be having a lot of different organizations using it. There's a soccer field out on the outfield. So I want to congratulate Father Tony and Kevin Danny because they worked very hard to get this done. So now it's a premier facility that will be used by many. And we also, all of us, attended the 23rd Annual Glendale Police Awards luncheon. It's always inspirational to hear the great stories and heroics of our Glendale Police Department. And this year was no exception. And Tom Lorenz, I don't know if he's in the room, but he always has fun facts for us. And while we were at the luncheon, my husband reminded me we gave the Volunteer of the Year Award for the, I guess it's the 18th. Glendale Police Department started this Volunteer of the Year Award in the year 2000. And my husband was the first one to receive that award. So we got a kind of a little kick out of that, remembering back at that award and how just wonderful it was. So congratulations to Booth Hartley, who received it this year, and to all of our police officers. Thank you for your service to this community. You make us one of the safest communities in the country, and we thank you.
Thank you. No one else? I will have just short comments. On Friday, we had our annual Dodger Night, Glendale Dodger Night, which was the best attended Dodger Night in our history. Over nearly 700 tickets sold. And despite the bad weather, relatively bad rainy weather, a lot of those 700 people showed up. So I think everyone had fun. On to the next year. I look forward to that. And on Sunday, I think most of us attended the Glendale Fire Service Day, which, again, despite the bad weather, was that Saturday? Saturday morning, yeah, Saturday morning. Despite the bad weather, appeared to be very well attended. And as every year, we had some pretty amazing pancakes cooked for us by yours truly, our chief, and the troops, and followed by demonstration of the heavy equipment that our fire department uses when they're needed. So thank you for that. Again, our community is very engaged, very appreciative, and showed up to hang out with our firefighters. Finally, I would like to have the meeting today be adjourned in the memory of Frank R. Manzano, and I will read his obituary at the end of the meeting. And that's all I have. Mr. Clerk, what is next? Oh, I'm sorry. We have 3-minute speaking cards, and I'm going to go through them one by one. And the first speaker is Rolinda Biesmeyer. Welcome back, Ms. Biesmeyer.
say welcome back to you, too.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. As you know, I represent the Glendale Youth Orchestra. I'm waiting for my poster to come up. And this is our season-ending concert, the 29th season. It's Sunday, May 20th at 7 o'clock at the Alex Theater, and we would love to have all of Glendale come to hear the most marvelous kids play. They are in grades 6 through 12, and they represent the San Fernando Valley, Glendale, other parts of Los Angeles. But still, this is an outstanding orchestra. They are members of the CalArts and also presenting members of Disney Association too. And so we would just like to see the Alex Theater filled for the last concert of the season. Ticket prices are $12 for seniors and students, and then $15 for the general population. Parking is validated at the Orange Street garage for $1 if you get it stamped. And so, but it's just something to look forward to. The children are fantastic. So you will see me again in November for the beginning of our 30th season. Thank you.
Thank you. And next speaker is Maurice Akers, followed by Mike Mohill.
Good evening. My name is Maurice Akers. I've lived in Glendale for about 32 years. I'd like to speak tonight about the housing for senior citizens, or the lack of housing for senior citizens. I've been almost forced to move out of my house right now. I've lived there with my companion, and she passed away a couple of years ago, and I'm working part-time now to make ends meet. I got on a lottery for Onyx, I guess it's down in Central. I haven't heard from them for about 5 months, but I'll have to move out, maybe move out of state because I can't afford rent here anymore. Do you have any programs for senior citizens?
Oh, wait, this is a speaking time, so we're not going back and forth. Are those all your comments, sir?
I'm sorry?
Are those all your comments? Are you finished with the comments?
Basically, I've lived here for a long time. I'd like to keep living here, but that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akers. So we do have low-income housing programs. We have the Section 8 program. We have a low-income housing program. We just had a groundbreaking of our latest senior low-income housing project. And when I say project, don't think the wrong thing. It's a gorgeous, beautiful building that is going to go up, and it's going to provide 65 additional low-income senior residences for those that will be able to qualify and will get to live there through a lottery. Unfortunately, the demand for such housing is much greater than the supply, and the financial resources that we have are simply not sufficient to satisfy that demand. We are doing our best with what we have, and we will continue to replenish and increase our low-income housing stock. Unfortunately, like I said, it's not progressing at the pace that we'd like, but we are doing our best under the circumstances. I encourage everyone to write or visit their state and federal representatives, because the state representatives can influence the type of funding that the state allocates towards low-income housing programs, and the federal representative can impact, potentially, in theory, impact the HUD funding for Section 8, for the Section 8 program. But short of that, the city has very limited means to expand its low-income housing stock. And with that, I'll take the next speaker, Mike Mohill, followed by Frank Gallo.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Last week, I came before this council and reminded the public how Councilman Aaron Najarian, in his 2017 re-election campaign, conned the voters and our local newspaper to support him. First, he circumvented the spirit of our new city council campaign limit law of $1,100. He convinced his buddy, the very wealthy Timmy Marderosian, to create an independent expenditure for a whopping $25,000. That money was used for campaign mailers and other activities. Second, Mr. Najarian, the king of con, had a mailer printed stating Mr. Najarian had voted against 7 mega apartment complexes. What the mailers didn't say was Mr. Najarian voted first with his council colleagues for stage 1, the foundation of a building, stage 2, the framing and architecture of a building. Yet, behind closed doors, the clever Mr. Najarian knew his 4 other council colleagues would be voting yes for these mega apartment complexes. By Mr. Najarian voting no on the final 3, stage 3 of these projects, he would look like a hero. Mr. Najarian replied that the late Governor Duke Majan would have told me to shut down, Mr. Mohill. Shut down. I should have shut you down a long time ago. I'm a Vietnam veteran, Mr. Najarian. You will never, never shut me down. Mr. Najarian, what have you done for your country? After his corruption practices, including Mr. Najarian approving over 90% of the overdevelopment of downtown, he now has the audacity to call for a moratorium on future buildings and assumes the role of victim. It's too bad a good organization like the ANC of Glendale supports politicians like Councilman Najarian. Without the support of the ANC, Mr. Najarian would never, never be elected to city council or any other elected office. I hope Mr. Najarian runs for council again rather than resign. I would like to see Glendale voters do what they did to 2 other corrupt politicians, Dave Weaver and John Draymond, and vote him out of office. Mr. Najarian, you have absolutely no integrity, no honesty, and no accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mohill. Frank Gallo.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Frank Gallo, Glendale Coalition for Better Government. The city is proposing an electric, water, and sewer rate increase. Unfortunately, as of now, the electric cost of service analysis, COSA, has not been made available to the public. The COSA considers the operating costs, capital needs, and regulatory requirements for the electric section of the public utility. It is extremely important for the public to have access to this information in a timely manner. The utility contemplates the increases from the point of view of its financial needs within the legal frame of operating a public utility, while the public sees the increase as a cost that affects residents and business owners in very different ways. For example, the proposed doubling in the monthly connection fee or customer charge will discourage energy saving and solar energy. The new use of tiers might or might not fit the legal framework of a public utility. But it will be impossible for the public to give an informed opinion when they don't have a full COSA to read. Furthermore, the increase is being considered while the electric utility is studying a major renovation that will change the way it produces energy. We know that the renovation will cost millions of dollars. but nobody has an accurate estimate as of now. So why going ahead with an increase when a lot of the information is missing? Why keeping the public in the dark and risking legal improprieties? Why hitting the ratepayers with a triple rate increase, especially one where you have a 60% increase in the sewer cost? And when the utility, according to its own estimates, needs an increase of 0% in 2019. On top of that, the utility is facing a decision by the court that might make the whole restructuring obsolete. I mean, the whole restructuring of the rates obsolete. Glendale Coalition for Better Government urges you to postpone any rate increases until the next fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gallo.
I'd like to tell you that, and the public as well, that I asked about the COSA today of Ms. Beers, our city manager, and would you like to inform the public what's going on?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Council Member Devine, the cost of service analysis for both sewer and water are online currently. The executive summary of the electric COSA is online, and we should have the full COSA online fairly shortly. But the executive summary does cover the information that Mr. Gallo is bringing forward in terms of going through an introduction, talking about what the utility does, the cost of service and rate design process overview. It goes into detail about each of those sections within that frame. It talks about how the revenue is developed, what the requirements are. It talks about the functionalization of the costs, and it takes you through each of the steps. So the executive summary, in terms of the ability for the public to see what the cost of service analysis is based on, is included within the executive summary. And as soon as the entire COSA for electric is available, it will be online. As you know, we do have a community meeting scheduled for tomorrow night. This item will be before you on March 22nd, which is next Tuesday. Council can make a decision that evening as it relates to each of those rates separately, water, electric, and sewer. We will answer any questions between now and then by way of the community as well as the City Council.
Thank you. And those are all the cards that I have for the 3-minute portion. And we'll move on to the next item. Mr. Clerk.
Item 8A under action items is Director of Human Resources regarding Workforce Demographics Report Update 2003 to 2016. One is a motion to note and file.
And who will be presenting? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm very pleased to present the updated Workforce Demographics Report this evening. This report looks at the composition of our city employee workforce over time, looking at it through race, ethnicity, gender. It's quite an extensive report, as you can see, literally containing dozens of tables running from calendar year 2003 all the way through 2016. The benefit of looking at this report over this period of time is that you do get to see some general trends in our hiring practices over the years. As I said, lots of data. It's all categorized, again, by on a citywide basis, a department-by-department basis, as well as at the employee level. This information shows trends, and again, as we try to diversify this organization, the report and the tables show an organization that is becoming more diverse as time goes on. Because the document itself is quite lengthy, for purposes of this presentation, we've chosen to highlight some of the more significant tables showing the demographics and trends.
1 second, we're just...
Mr. Mayor, we're working through some technical difficulties. The PowerPoint presentation, oh, here we go. It does show on television, and it's now fixed before us as well.
Okay, so again, we've tried to summarize some of the more significant tables in this PowerPoint presentation. Before starting, however, we do want to go through some of the methodologies and assumptions used in preparing this data to provide an accurate representation of the city's workforce demographics over a range of periods. The following methodology was used. Primarily, we're looking at actual positions, actual employees within the organization versus budgeted positions. As far as salaried employees, those who would appear in this would have to have worked a minimum of 1,040 hours in a calendar year. So if somebody started at mid-year or at the early part of the year, left, they would not be counted. Additionally, we're also looking at our significant contingent of hourly employees, or part-time, you might say. A lot of these employees are seasonal or temporary, and they, in order to be counted in these reports, they'd have to work a minimum of 100 hours in a calendar year. The employees are also assigned to the last department worked, because a lot of this data, you have employees who promote or transfer to different departments. We're looking at the departments that they last worked. And once again, the data is reported for calendar years 2003 through 2016. Before I get into some of the tables, the report does, or the figures shown on these reports do actually correspond to some of the growth and decline of the city's workforce in general over the past 15, 20 years, showing a peak in around 2007, 2008, 2009, then a steady decline from there until where we're at today, with a very steep decline around 2012, where we experienced a high degree of layoffs and a retirement incentive. So the report, this is one of the more significant tables, and I know it's a little bit hard to read, and I'll try to sort of guide you through it. But what I want to start is at the very bottom, and this looks at the overall city workforce in both total employees, which is the top chart. The middle chart shows hourlies, and then the bottom chart shows the salaried. The bottom, I'd like to start there because I think it tells a good story, the salaried employees workforce. And if you look at that very far right-hand column where I have the arrow, it does show the growth, again, from the period of time that we've been measuring this, from 2003 to the present, in the various different race and ethnic groups. What you see in the far right column is a significant growth in the Armenian category, 119.8% increase from 2003 to 2016. That's the actual and hard numbers, 96 employees, salaried employees in 2003 to 211. Again, that's the biggest growth that we've seen. We also see more moderate growth in the Asian Pacific Islander category, a small reduction in the African American category, and a larger increase in the Hispanic of 11.2%. The Native American showing just no increase or decrease. And then the white category, which shows a 39.8% decrease. And again, that shows from the year, as I'm pointing to the 2003, there were 945 salaried employees who identified themselves as white. And in 2016, or through the end of 2016, the number is actually 569. Again, approximately a 40% decrease. When you look at that, in this blue column that I'm looking at right here, you do see just the general categories. Even though the white category declined significantly, you still have a workforce that's approximately 40.2% white. The next highest number is Hispanic at 30.9%. Then you have Armenian, which is approximately 15%. Asian Pacific Islander, 9.6%, or approximately 10%. And then the black category, which is 3.77%. Comparing that to 2003, at least for the salaried categories, again, it was an organization back then of 57.9% white. The next highest category, again, was Hispanic at 24.1%. And the third highest back then was Asian Pacific Islander at 7.9%. and the Armenian people who identified as Armenians, 5.9%. Looking up again to the total city workforce, which is the top chart there, you see, and this is today, or as of the end of 2016, the white category has 36.2%. The next highest is the Hispanic at 31.7%, then 18.3% Armenian. The next highest would be Asian Pacific Islander at 9.5%, and then you have the African American at 3.7%. And again, that's all employees, salaried and hourly, as of today. What these charts do show is really an organization that is becoming more diverse. Essentially, the organization that existed 15, 20, 25 years ago is changing, and as the employees retire or move on, we are seeing a more diverse organization. I'll go to the next table, and this is, my goodness, even more challenging to read, but this breaks down the various groups. It's the same as the previous report, except that it breaks down the employees by the executive level, management supervisory level, technical professional, supervisory, and non-management level, and then the non-management level. Those are essentially your rank and file employees. And again, if you go to the far right-hand column, and I know this is a bit challenging to read, but you do see a significant increase, again, in the Armenian category of the executive group showing a 500% increase. And this reflects that in 2003, we had one executive who identified as Armenian. 2016, we had 6. And you see significant increases in all of those categories as well, of the management and upper management categories of the Armenian racial and ethnic group. Asian Pacific Islander group shows a significant increase of 300% in the technical professional categories. And those are employees that are essentially professionals, the analysts, engineers, and librarians and people like that. Because this is hard to read, I'm going to kind of jump to the bottom here and again show the white individuals identify as white. Again, you see a pretty significant decline in the overall percentages. One thing to highlight, since we talked about executives, in 2003 we had 14 members of our executive team identified as white. In 2016 it's 7, so that's a reduction completely in half. The next category, or the next slide, which is slide 5, looks at our departments individually. And you know, these departments are listed in alphabetical order, with administrative services, otherwise known as finance, listed there. And it looks, the administrative services finance is a relatively, probably the most balanced of any of the departments as far as both Armenian, you have 30%, Asian Pacific Islander, approximately 30%, Hispanic, 21.7%, white, 15.2%. You see various departments with a high percentage of employees identifying as Armenians in the city clerk's office, city treasurer's office, community development, human resources, and certainly management services as well. The departments which seem to have a high, or the highest percentage of Hispanic employees is the Public Works Department at 47.3%, the Community Services and Parks Department at 42.2%. And so again, this is just very interesting information. You see how the different departments break down. I'll next move to the next slide is slide number 6, which shows the gender composition, again, through the 2016 year. And this is, again, looking at just male and female. And what you see in this category are the the departments listed that have a higher percentage of female employees listed at the top, whereas those with the higher percentage of male employees listed down below. What you see, quite interestingly, Treasurer's Office, City Attorney's Office, almost 80% female. Human Resources, 75% female. Library, 65%. Administrative Services, Finance, 63%. City Clerk's Office, 57%. Again, these are a lot of the more professional-oriented departments. A lot of the ones who are located here at City Hall. When you look at again, City Attorney, HR, Finance, Treasury. The departments that have the higher percentage of males, those tend to be your traditional blue collar, a lot of the field operations, public works, water and power, and of course the public safety departments that you see that traditionally these are occupations that tend to attract more males than females. Do want to point out like the line on the police department, which shows 31.5% female, 68.5% male. This is largely reflective of the sworn police officers. When you look at the non-sworn, the civilian, or as they refer to as the professionals, it's completely flip-flopped. You have a much higher percentage of females in those categories, and those I'm talking about the dispatchers, the forensics, the crime lab, parking enforcement, and occupation such as those. The next slide, slide 7, it always comes up when we talk about public safety, particularly public safety sworn, whether or not these tend to be, again, very heavy male-oriented occupations. It always comes up, how do we compare against our neighboring cities, neighboring organizations? And so we did a little additional research and looked at cities of Anaheim, Pasadena, Burbank, and Inglewood to see how we compare. Again, this is strictly on our sworn police and fire officers and firefighters. You see Glendale, at least in the police department area, about 10.4% female, but it's no different than some of our surrounding agencies. A little better than Anaheim, a little lower than Pasadena, Burbank, and Inglewood. Same thing with the fire department. You see this is a more heavily male-dominated occupation, just traditionally. Where you see our neighboring jurisdictions. We have 2 female firefighters. Our neighboring jurisdictions have 3 and 2. The one outlier is City of Pasadena. They've done quite well in their outreach females and firefighting, and we've been in touch with them to see how they do it, but there are a variety of factors to consider there.
Excuse me, that was a question I had asked you, is why does Pasadena have 9 and all of the others have 2, and that was what you found out, is that their outreach is better? Or?
Well, for a variety of reasons, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Devine, City of Pasadena has been under various pressures, consent decrees and the threats of consent decrees just historically, and they have had to do some significant outreach. And I think the easiest way to say that they've been successful is that they really have a lot of flexibility in their hiring process. They are not a civil service agency. Therefore, they are not constrained by the strict hiring rules that we have. For example, when we are hiring firefighters, we have to go through a series of tests, both written and then interview processes, and we create a list based on how people rank and score on those exams. And the City of Glendale, I think you're all familiar, under our charter and civil service rules, we have what's known as the Rule of 3, where for each opening, we can only go down 3 names on the eligibility list to select our firefighters or police officers or whatever the case may be. In Pasadena, there is no restriction on 3. They can essentially survey the entire list And that could be 12 names, that could be 20 names, or it could be 50 names.
Are you
So
talking about for promotions or just for getting on the force?
just for getting on the force, on their open
firefighter, really?
processes, yes. And another thing Pasadena Fire did years ago, they had a group, single function paramedics. And again, due to the pressures that they've had to hire increasing numbers of women, minorities, they took they had a large group of non-firefighter paramedics, and they took a big group of them and transitioned them to firefighters/paramedics, which immediately, and it was about 10 of them all in one fell swoop.
Without testing, without further...
That's correct, yes. So...
And Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilmember Devine, I would add to what Mr. Doyle was explaining regarding Pasadena and the differences with Glendale. And historically, because Pasadena initially had 1 or 2 or 3 female firefighters, typically just based on the profession and that it is a paramilitaristic profession and that it's male-dominated. Once you have 1 or 2 females, there are other females who are going to apt to feel more comfortable to actually apply to those departments and join those departments. And so we are also seeing that here in Glendale now that we have 2. I think there's more interest by way of female firefighters to be recruits for them to apply and be successful in that process in Glendale. And you as a council have also had good policy directives for us by way of facilities and capital improvement projects to make sure that our facilities, our firehouses, are conducive to having male and female firefighters at the facilities with appropriate dorms, restroom facilities, et cetera. And we haven't had that always, and not all of our stations have that. And so we continue to move in that arena to make sure that we balance those numbers out.
And I know that we've also beefed up our outreach. It's much more...
Absolutely, and I do want to commend our police and fire department. They're doing a tremendous amount of work, and again, not just those departments, but every department, including my department. If there's an event or a function or a meeting or a community group that wants to hear our pitch about city employment, we'd be happy to be there. Which does lead to the last slide in our, and we just wanted to kind of review some of the ongoing strategies that we've undertaken. As I said, our police fire department has been just fantastic in dealing with outreach, but we do want to focus on outreach and really target our Glendale community, because we all know that Glendale is a very, very diverse community with regard to Armenian population, Filipino, Korean, Hispanic, and we truly believe if we can target and focus our own residents, particularly our young, that we can help diversify our organization and frankly serve our community better. And a lot of the outreach, a lot of the efforts that the partnerships that we have with various civic organizations are leading in that direction. A lot of our advertising is focused in that standpoint as well. We try to spread our advertising budget out to as many different groups, as many different publications and websites as possible. As I said earlier, we very much are involved in every community event you can imagine. We go to job fairs, we go to city events. Recently attended the Veterans Job Fair, the Cesar Chavez event. The Glendale College does a lot with regard to careers and job fairs. And before we get off that, I do want to talk a little bit about our Cadet, Explorer, and Ambulance Operator programs in public safety, because these are the areas that we have the best opportunities to really make some strides in diversifying the organization and in our outreach to females in law enforcement and firefighting. The Cadet, Explorer, and Ambulance Operator programs focus on individuals. We target our community again, and they are part-time hourly positions, although a lot of them work a lot of hours. But because they They are hourly. They are not part of the civil service process. So again, we're not constrained by a lot of the traditional hiring and testing practices. We can focus, do some heavily focused outreach. And right now, we're seeing a lot of success, particularly police and fire. And I know Chief Fish has been very active in that with the ambulance operator program, which is part of our basic life support group. And it's extremely diverse. And what we've done is we've made efforts to hire or to transition individuals from ambulance operator directly to the firefighter ranks, and that makes it a whole lot easier. And the same goes with our police department and the explorer and cadet ranks. Another thing we want to mention is the partnership with IPA, our Innovation and Performance department. We are taking advantage of that, our newest city department, and we've tried a lot of things over the years, and Elena Bobolian and her staff have been really good at contributing some really good ideas. And one thing that they've helped us do is improve our efforts to keep people engaged in our hiring process, and done some really interesting research to see why it is that we might get 100 or 200 applicants for a job, but then we schedule the exam or schedule the interview process and only a fraction of the people show up. I mean, part of that is just a sign of the times and the labor market, but those are the types of things that we're going to try to do and do better outreach and better analytics on what works and what doesn't. The last two things I do want to mention on the PowerPoint: flexibility and frequency in testing processes. We're trying to make these processes as flexible as possible, particularly in the public safety arena, where we do want to diversify even more than we have already. And we're doing more frequent, in both fire and police, more frequent examinations, because if you do them only few and far between, we tend to lose good candidates to other agencies. So we really have to be aggressive on this. And what we've done, whereas in the past we would schedule our candidates for a written exam, and then a few weeks later we do an interview process, then a few weeks later physical agility, we try and do all of those things all at once. And we have staff that'll schedule these events at one of the community colleges, and we try to jump on it and do our best to get people in the door. And the police officer recruit position, for example, is what's called an unclassified job, and it is exempt from civil service. So what we've been able to do is, if we have a good candidate, we can kind of jump on it, and if it's somebody we just learned of a few days ago, we can contact that person and get them in for, again, the written, the oral. We don't have to wait and test people in these large groups. And I know Chief Povolitis, Chief Fish are very, very much on top of those things. The last thing I want to mention, again, as far as outreach recruitment, is our bilingual skills bulletins. And sort of indirectly, this has been one of our best tools for achieving diversity in our organization. And we've done this for our police department. We've done it for several departments, our housing, and where we have areas that we actually would benefit by having bilingual employees, and that could be Spanish speaking, it could be Armenian, it could be Korean. We've done all of these at various points. We end up with a pool of candidates that, just by virtue of the fact that these individuals are multilingual, they tend to be more diverse, and it's been another successful way of getting more diverse group of employees into our processes. So with that, I know I covered a lot in a short period of time, and again, my apologies for the charts. I know you have those handouts in front of you, so it's probably a little easier to see. But if you have questions for me, I'd be happy to try and answer them. And I do want to commend a member of my staff, Naira Kopian. She's in about the fifth row. She's our data expert. She used to work in internal audit and has done just an excellent job of putting together this data and given us a lot to think about. So with that, if you have questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them. If not, this is a note and file item.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. Councilmember Alajanian?
Maybe you briefly mentioned it, but I want to ask again that there is this rule of three that regardless how many people they take the exam, you pick up only 3 people, the best 3, right?
It's correct, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Agajanian. What the rule states is that after we finish a process, and it could be any process, firefighter, could be civil engineer, could be gardener, groundskeeper, we create a list based on how the individuals perform in that exam and how they rank. And for each opening, we then have to send, we send the department the top 3 ranking names as they scored on that list. Now, there could be a list of 5 people, it could be 10 people or 20, but for each opening, we're pretty highly constrained in only allowing to forward the top 3 names. And that department has to select from only those top 3.
Okay, my question actually is, after that, there are, let's say if there were 20 people, so 3 of them you accepted, the balance of it you did not accept. So they can take the test next time, whenever we say we need more people to be hired. And one more, and then you can answer. And is there a limit how many times the person can participate in the exam?
No, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Agajanian, the way it works, when we create a list, typically these lists will last for up to 2 years. So when we do a hiring process and we create a list, we'll give, and let's say a department has 1 opening, we'll give them the top 3 names. They'll select one of those candidates. It could be candidate number 1, it could be number 2, or number 3. But depending on who they select, the other 2 names remain on that list along with everyone else. For the next time they have a vacancy, then we would provide them again with that list, and they would get the next 3 names on the list. And that could be numbers 2. Let's say in the first go-around they selected candidate number 2. Then the second opening that department has, we would give them candidate number 1, candidate number 3, and candidate number 4. So it's three names at a time. And as far as how many times they can take a test, there's no limit on that. Typically, though, once we establish a list, we want to keep that list and use it multiple times because the people participating in that process have a general entitlement or expectation for us to revisit that list for subsequent openings.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alajanian. Any more questions, comments? Do we have a motion? Note and file?
Second.
Oh,
We have the roll call, please.
Councilmembers Agajanian,
yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Thank you. What's next on the agenda?
Next item is Director of Community Services and Parks regarding Verdugo Park North Master Plan Concept Design. B1 is a motion approving one of the 3 concept designs, A, B, or C, and directing staff to proceed with developing the schematic design, design development, and construction documents, or providing feedback to staff to develop a hybrid design. 2 is a motion authorizing city manager to execute an amendment to the existing contract with David Vols Design Landscaping Architects, Inc.
Thank you. Mr. Bulanikian?
Thank you, Mayor Sinanian, members of the council. I'm here tonight to review the 3 conceptual plans for the north end of Verdugo Park. We've been planning, the north end of Verdugo Park was funded back in March of 2016 as part of the DIF strategic plan. We have some DIF funds being used for this project, some CIP funds, and recreation enterprise funds. Ready?
I think you can.
I'm sorry?
Well, we're waiting. There we go.
Okay, thank you. So a little background about Verdugo Park. It's a 38-acre park. It includes multiple amenities, ball fields. We have a softball field, skate park, 2 playgrounds, a horseshoe court, nice open space area, community garden, and we use it for special events. Little League uses the baseball field or the Little League field for their games. We also have Stengel Field used by Glendale Community College and Glendale High School. And we also house the Park Services Yard, which is the main hub for 22 park facilities. Our park maintenance crew works out of that yard. The current plot plan of Verdugo Park, we have the north end and the south end. The north end, the south end has been built out, so that's why we're concentrating more on the north end for this project. The project goals, safety and security, pathway lighting, refurbish existing facilities, a community room, a small community room with a restroom. Update the restroom at the north end needs quite a bit of work to be done. All-inclusive playground, drive path modification with ADA access and ADA parking, and we'd also like to refurbish the community garden. The project budget, like I mentioned earlier, we have $2 million allocated in DIF fund, $500,000 in recreation special revenue fund, and CIP $500,000, total of $3 million. And then we have Shane's Inspiration all-inclusive playground funding, $825,000. So we have a total of $3,825,000. So our first community meeting that we had at Verdugo Park was held in June of 2017. Staff discussed scope of work, which included a new community room and a restroom building, similar to what we have at Griffith Manor Park, 3,000 to 3,500 square foot facility. We wanted to build a facility where we can use and have it available for birthday parties, baptisms, quinceañeras, special events for the community to use. Replace the existing playground with an all-inclusive Shane's Inspiration playground. A new parking lot to serve both the community room and the Shane's Inspiration playground. Rebuild the community garden, move the community garden, and rebuild it to the hillside west of the Park Services Yard. Replace existing picnic tables. We have close to 40 picnic tables on the north end, and they need a lot of work. We want to take all of them out and replace them with brand new concrete tables. Also replace or actually install a DG walk path with fitness equipment. We've been installing fitness equipments at a number of our parks. A few months ago, we installed some at Carr Park and Pelanconi. We would like to install a couple fitness equipment stations at Verdugo also. And of course, bring in ADA path of travel into compliance for the above items. And also having a historic village at the park. One of our strategic goals for community service on parks is to locate an area in the city to provide or to have a historic village. We can use the historic homes and have docents run and program those homes. That was basically the scope for the June meeting. Approximately 34 community members were in attendance and 25 written comments were received. There was a number of things that were supported, replacing the restroom and keeping the existing size. The community didn't want a 3,000 to 3,500 square foot facility. They were okay with replacing the current playground with an all-inclusive playground, relocate the community garden, eliminate the existing park drive and have a roundabout, installing or constructing a decomposed granite walk path, additional parking, but only ADA in minimal size. They didn't want a large parking lot. Renovating the picnic areas, and basically minimize impact to existing trees. The community at the meeting and the written comments after the meeting were opposed to replacing the patio with a community room and having exercise stations. The second meeting was held in March of this year. After listening to the community, we asked our consultant to reduce the scope of the building to 2,000 to 2,500 square feet. And of course, work on the restroom, brand new restroom. Include the all-inclusive Shane's Inspiration Playground, new parking options to serve the playground and community room and emergency services. Rebuild the community garden and replace the existing tables with ADA compliant table groupings. Install a walk path with exercise equipment. Bring ADA path of travel to compliance for above items and the historic village. Now I'd like to go over the concept plans. Concept Plan A, we have, I'm going to use the mouse. So this is a park maintenance yard, which we like to keep. Like I mentioned, we have 22 park facilities that are maintained from this facility. Our Shane's Inspiration Playground will be installed here and right over here. This entire area is 31,000 square feet, with the playground itself being 10,000 square feet. We have the community building and the bathroom building here. We also have our permeable DG walk path with exercise stations and picnic areas along the walk path. And our existing road that we have that goes to Colino, that will be stopped right here with a roundabout. And we'll have 5 spaces here and another 7 spaces. So this is concept A. Concept C, I'm sorry, Concept B. Concept B is taking that road in back of the park services yard with a large parking lot and a roundabout. We'll use the same footprint as Concept A for the all-inclusive playground. Once again, a community restroom, community building and a restroom, permeable walk path and walking stations. Concept B was liked at the March meeting because it looks like it has more open space and green space. This provides 270,000 square feet of open space, where Concept A provides 300,000 square feet of open space. Concept C, we have the drive path going through all the way to Colina with, once again, permeable walk path. This is just a restroom, not a community room. Down in this area is a large picnic shelter, with a canopy, a shade structure. We have also, once again, the all-inclusive playground. And then we have the parking lot in the back, using the park services yard. The area where we're requesting to have the parking lot is the current community garden. We'll move the community garden to this area right here. We'll maximize that area, add more plots. We'll add 4x8 boxes, similar to what we have at Palmer Park and similar to what Greener Glendale has at Geneva and Monterey Community Gardens. So here's a comparison chart with the amenities. So option A will have the community room and the restroom building. All the plans are showing the all-inclusive playground. Option A will shorten the park drive. Like I mentioned earlier, it'll provide 300,000 square feet of open space. Option B, remove the park drive, and option C will leave the park drive. All the plans show ADA parking, pedestrian paths, walking path, fitness equipment, relocating the community garden and the future historic village. Impact to trees. Concept A will have the least impact. 23 will be removed. 16 will have minimal impact. Out of the 23 being removed, 17 are redwoods, rest of them are sycamores. That's another reason why we were picking concept A, because we have more open space, 300,000 square feet, and there'll be less impact to the trees.
Mr. Garpetti, we have a question.
Yes.
I have a quick question. So those trees that are going to be removed on concept, let's say A, where are they located at? Because of what part of this project are being removed?
I can go to the next slide, or I can
Okay,
continue the
okay,
presentation.
thank you.
I mean, we do have the tree count for option A, since option A was our choice, the concept plan that we're choosing. So like I mentioned earlier, option A, concept A is 300,000 overall turf, concept B is 260, and concept C is 270,000. So we're taking, there's turf reduction for softscape of 32,000 in concept A, and this is what is being reduced from the current park. Concept A, 60,000 square feet, concept B, 100,000, and concept C, 85,000. So the summary of community meeting number 2, we also had a number of emails and comments that were sent to us. We did have an open comment period till April 6th. And over 30 community members did attend the meeting. We did get a number of emails and comments. We had support for the restroom replacement, 27-0. Excuse me, replace playground with all-inclusive, 21-0. Relocate the community garden. Eliminate the existing park drive to Colina. Constructing a decomposed granite walking path. Additional ADA parking, only ADA, not a large parking lot. So basically, we got a number of comments. If we can have ADA parking between 5 and 7 parking spots just for the all-inclusive playground. Parking and drop-off turnaround, 10-2, renovate the picnic areas and minimize impact to trees. The community was opposed to the community room, the historic village, and exercise stations. Our next meeting was on April 16th. We took all 3 plans to the Parks Commission. The Parks Commission supported Shane's Inspiration Playground, the replacement of an existing restroom and patio with a newer restroom and small community room between 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. And new exercise stations with 3-to-1 margin, relocating the community garden, and having a Shane's Inspiration Playground with 3 commissioners asking to have ADA-only parking spaces. A turnaround for drop-off and pickup, and eliminating the road to Colina, renovation of the picnic areas, and having a DG walking path. I want to mention that the community room, like I mentioned earlier, we had a nice idea of making it available for birthday parties and events. This community room will only be available for our day camp program, our summer programming, and basically for nonprofits if they want to use it for their special events such as the Kiwanis Club, Rotary Club, for citywide events such as our Movies in the Park program or summer concert series. The facility will not be available. We won't make it available for rent. That was one request that we heard at the first meeting, is we don't need another rental facility when we have the Dad's Club across the street. The staff heard the community. We are requesting a 1,500 to 1,800 square foot facility for our day camp program. For we can use, store our supplies, or kids using it for the arts and crafts, and so on. The construction plan costs, this is just for the construction of the concept, not including Shane's Inspiration. For concept A is 2.6 million, 3.2 for concept B, and Concept C is 3.6. This doesn't include the 20% soft costs, such as project management, construction management, and permits. So our projected schedule after tonight, depending on what happens tonight, we would like to go into the design development phase between June and October 20th, our construction design phase, and plan check and bidding award. Hopefully, everything will be completed by January 2020. So staff is recommending, after listening to the community, after listening to our commission and to the residents, staff is requesting the Shane's Inspiration Playground. We're also requesting the renovation of the bathroom with a 1,500 to 1,800 square foot building that will include also a community room. Relocating the community garden, ADA parking spaces, 5 to 7, not a huge parking lot that we were proposing in our plans. Eliminating the drive to Colina, replacement of the picnic tables with ADA access picnic tables, and also a new perimeter walk path, not including the exercise stations.
Yes, Ms. Devine?
Any questions?
I have a few.
Yeah, I can, the trees or?
If you can answer the three questions as to the, let's say, concept A that has the least trees being removed, where are those trees at this time? And what part of this project, forces those trees to be removed?
The 17 redwood trees are closer to the community garden, and if I can.
We're bringing it back up now.
Okay. I can go with council members.
Those are diseased anyway, you said.
Yes.
Those redwoods, they're not.
Yes, the redwoods are really out of shape. They're.
Are you getting the schematic map?
Oh, leave it on.
Bring it back up.
I'm sorry?
Are you looking for, are you getting the schematic, the whole entire part?
It's in my PowerPoint.
Great, yeah, that's.
Okay. This is the concept A tree study. The blue ones are going to be removed, and the pink ones might be removed, or there might be impact. But the blue one, these, all 17 of them are the redwoods. And then these are the sycamores. These two are not going to be impacted since we reduced the scope of the building. This was when we asked the consultant to have a 2,500 square foot building. This area, these trees will not be impacted.
So the pink ones are what?
The pink, David?
Pink ones are what they...
Possibly. Minimal
Possibly?
impact, possibly, yes. We'll know after the schematic design. We'll go into greater detail on how many trees will be impacted. This is if we decide to go with the walking path.
So with the... Because if you consider the pink ones as well, then there's way too many trees being removed. I don't know, the redwoods that are diseased or whatever, if they're already that bad that they have to be removed?
They're in pretty bad, eventually we need to remove them. Like we did a few years ago due to the drought.
My first question is, we've gotten a lot of emails on this, and in one of the emails they suggested that Shane's Park be moved from the north to the south. But as I understand it, we would lose more trees. Can you kind of discuss that?
We will lose 11 sycamore trees if we move it down to the south end. I believe it's a 7,000 square foot playground. The Shane's Inspiration is 10,000, 10 to 11,000.
Okay, and putting it where it's planned is only 2 trees.
Yes.
Would be only 2 trees that we would
Yes.
lose. Okay. So that's a good reason why we wouldn't want to move. Plus, that the north side or the south side is built out, correct?
Yes.
Plus, the part, the section by the, let's see, where it shows the, can you get back to the schematic, please?
Sure.
I guess it's around the base, around the
Yes.
picnic tables and the baseball field. There are a lot of trees there, and we don't want to, right,
No, we're
disturb
not gonna-
those. We can't, okay. So that wouldn't be a good place. So that kind of leaves out the south end for Shane's inspiration. Next question. You've taken the community room and that building down to 1,500 square
Yes.
feet. How many children do you have in the summer program?
It depends on the week, between 50 and 60.
And that, taking that room down to that size, the
That should be
community
enough.
room, would be sufficient?
It should be enough.
We don't, there's no need to go any bigger, we're good. Because I think it's important for the kids to have a room.
Maximum size we're requesting to be 1,800 square feet, no more than 1,800.
Okay. And another question I ask you is, if we eliminate parts of Plan A, B, or C, what would be our cost savings? And I ask you, if we take out the path, the exercise equipment, the turnaround, and that extra parking, how much would we save that we could funnel elsewhere in the city?
500 to 700,000.
So that would take the cost down to?
I would say close to 500, plus you have the soft costs and so on.
2,500,000.
So it would take it down to 2.5? Plus, we would, and the, what, 2, are you giving him an updated number?
That's
Oh,
fine.
okay. So that would take Plan A, which is, well, Plan A is 2.6 million, so that would take it down to 2 million? Less.
Yeah, less maybe. Yeah, we would have to, depending on what we choose tonight, then we'll come back to council with a estimate on how much it's going to cost.
And the historic village, if you take that out, is that, are you including that? I didn't mention that
The
one.
historic village will, basically, our plan was to have, if we were going to have historic homes moved to Verdugo, have the owner or the developer pay for the moving location and connecting all the existing, connecting the utilities.
And then what, connecting the utilities there, and then what would happen to those houses?
On site?
Would people be living there, or?
No, what we would
gonna
do,
rent?
it depends. I mean, if we have 2 or 3 homes, we would program it similar to what we have with our DOSAN program at Casa Adobe and Verdugo Adobe. Or we can program it and have a caretaker living there. We already have a caretaker living at Verdugo. So it's something that we can work on. Probably program it.
Thank you. Thank you. Fine.
General question, not specific. What will happen if we postpone this? Are we losing anything, or will be anything, will be damaged? We are in rush to do this? What's,
Mayor Sinanian, Councilmember Alajanian, this project was brought to council March of 2016 as part of the DIF plan. Before that, I know we wanted to build a U14 soccer field while we were working on the DIF plan, and that wasn't approved. So we were asked to look at the north end. Priority-wise, we really need to do something to that restroom. That restroom is really outdated, and we need to refurbish that restroom. We're not using any DIF fees for the restroom because it's an amenity that's there. We can only use DIF funds for new amenities. But we would need to work on that restroom and also have a playground in that area. That playground is used, old, and we would like to install a new playground.
question was if we postpone it to study more We're not going to lose any funding from anywhere, nothing will happen, right?
Well, if we do more study, it's going to cost us more consultant fees and project management fees. We've spent $125,000 for a consultant just to come up with these 3 plans and project management with meetings. We started this project about 1.5 years ago. Staff point of view, the quicker we make a decision and we complete the project, the better on our end.
Mr. Garpetian?
Yes, can you tell me what is the size of this decomposed granite pathways that goes around the park, the one that, like in Design A, Concept A?
Can you put that PowerPoint up, Artie, please?
It's coming up in a second. There it is.
No, Concept A.
The pedestrian path hardscape is 19,000 square feet.
In Concept A?
Yes, in Concept A.
Okay. And the playground, the existing playground is about 7,500 square feet?
The existing playground is about
6,000 square feet? And the Shane's Inspiration, along with all the infrastructure that goes with it, the walkways and everything, is 31,000?
31, yes.
So from 6,000 to 31,000 square feet hardscape, basically in that area for the Shane's Inspiration.
No, because we're talking about the walking path also, correct? Throughout the entire park?
No. If you go back to Concept A, please.
And Onik, the hardscape for Shane's Inspiration is approximately
The hardscape-
10,000 square feet, or is it
No, it's
larger
not
than that?
10,000 square feet. It's a lot more than that.
From here, all the way to the
Right?
restroom is 31,000 square feet.
So that area is going to be occupied by 2 playgrounds and the hardscape that goes along with it, the walkway
It's going
around
to
the
be a walkway, picnic shelter, picnic area, yes.
Okay. So right now it's 6,000 square feet, is going to be 31,000
Yeah,
square
but we do have a couple concrete pads there currently with picnic tables.
feet. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if that's all the questions you have, I'm going to open a public hearing and start asking for public comments. I have a large number of cards, over 15, so therefore I'm going to allow everyone 2 minutes. And we will start with Setrak Balian, followed by Sarah Morrison.
Dear Mayor Sinanian and dear committee, City Council committee members, first I would like to thank you for the opportunity I've been given to speak. Second, I would like to appreciate the hard work that staff for doing the 19-page report in preparing all these alternatives, proposal A, proposal B, etc. I full-heartedly approve the letter from the Verdugo Woodlands West Homer that was sent to you on May 13. I would like to just add on it a personal experience that I have. My name is Setrak Balian. I'm an American citizen of Armenian descent, and I live just north of the Colina Street on Hillside Drive. And every Sunday morning, I drive down Cañada Boulevard to go to the church on Central Avenue, which is the main Armenian church. And just my experience with the park on these Sunday mornings is the following. First of all, Cañada Boulevard is a very quiet street on Sunday mornings. And when I reach the traffic light at the Colina Street, I can see the park on my right, just the front right-hand corner, and it is all trees and grass and turf, but I see a lot of people on the concrete benches. Even during these early hours, people have come to reserve their place on the concrete tables and benches for their picnic, which will follow. And when I'm coming back from the church around noontime, I see an excitement, a vitality in the park. Families with many members are all sitting there. Their children are playing. The youth are playing maybe volleyballs and everything. And I see that these people are there in the park to breathe the clean air of Glendale, and I assume that they are coming mainly from South Glendale, where their houses, their rented apartments are congested, and they need the space of the park to invite their friends to be together and celebrate whatever occasion they have.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
For
Baldwin.
their sake,
Yes,
I would like to propose to keep the park as is.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sarah Moore, please, come on. Okay, we want to get through this as fast as possible. Please, no clapping. Sarah Morrison, followed by Scott Frazier. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Sarah Morrison on behalf of the Whiting Woods Property Owners Association, and this is my daughter, Mallory Hill.
I'm Mallory.
I did have a slideshow prepared, but I was told that I couldn't present it, so I will email it to the council so you can see it as well.
All right.
We appreciate the city's efforts to improve the park facilities, but we have some concerns, as we expressed in the letter that we submitted to the council about the park plans. In particular, we've presented comments to the Parks Commission and went to the meeting prior to that, the public meeting, and do not feel that the changes that the Parks Department has proposed or has not proposed reflect the comments of the people who attended those meetings. We have two general points we wanted to make. The reallocation of the funds for Verdugo Park to South Glendale. As we said in our letter, we think that that's an appropriate use to prioritize the park funds. And secondly, that a revised concept plan be prepared for Verdugo Park, and the concepts that are A through C that were presented are not acceptable, and so that we, in our letter, submitted a hybrid plan that includes the elements that we felt we could agree to, and we've listed those in our letter as well. The aspects that we can agree on or can accept is the all-inclusive playground, but that it be limited, as was discussed, to a smaller square footage to not impact as much open space. The ADA-only parking is fine. The restroom renovation is fine as long as it doesn't take up additional open space. The existing road, we have taken the position, should just be maintained. If you're going to put in a road, don't spend the money building a new road. Just continue using the road. We can use that as a path. And the things that should not be included are non-ADA parking. The roadway turnabout does not seem necessary if you're continuing to have the road. The perimeter walking path is unnecessary if you have the road through the park. And the future historic village is completely incompatible with the nature of the park. The proposals that the Parks Department has put forward would increase hardscape compared to existing conditions and would impact trees. And therefore, we ask the City Council to direct the Parks Department to prepare a plan that preserves the open space and beauty of Verdugo Park. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Scott Frazier, followed by Dan Brotman.
Thank you for allowing me a chance to speak to you. I'm Scott Fraser from Neodrara Drive. I moved to my current house in part because I love the Verdugo Park, and I love walking by there and walking through it and seeing it serve as a magnet for the entire city. When I walk the park, I can see that what attracts people is the open space to the north, because people vote with their feet. Well, it's not just their feet, but with their bottoms and everything else, because that's where they're sitting, that's where the families are playing volleyball, that's where badminton nets are set up. The north side of the park is a very popular feature, much more popular than the south part. Because of this, and because I think that open space is so valuable both to me and to the community at large, I have 3 strong requests. One request is that we develop an integrated plan for both the north and the south. As you heard earlier, the south is considered built out. What that translates to me is that it's largely the center of the hardscaping. And what we really need is a chance to deploy both the hardscape facilities and the non-hardscape facilities for our different user groups at the park. For example, the community room might just as well fit in the South Park. I have a hard time believing the tree count of how many trees would be lost if the Shane Inspiration Playground was put in the South Park. And in fact, it's been very difficult to get real figures and real trees identified either on maps or by having ribbons put around them for which ones the different plans would remove. So I would like to argue for an integrated solution that takes advantage of the whole park, not just the North Park. I'd also like to see us develop new plans, as the 3 alternatives aren't really alternatives, and any hybrid actually has features dramatically in common one to the other. All of them are hardscape dominated.
Okay. Thank
and
you.
Finally, I'd like to see a transparent way to get some feedback.
Okay.
Because we've been misrepresented both from what the Parks Commission said and what we said. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next speaker is Dan Brotman, followed by Kathleen Cornafil. And let's please stick as close to the 2 minutes as possible.
Okay, I will try. Good evening, Mayor Sinanian.
Try hard.
Welcome back, and council members and staff. First, I also want to thank staff for the hard work they've done on this, and their sincere efforts to make our quality of life here in Glendale better. I just think the priorities are a little bit off. So it feels like the priority is how many amenities can we get into this space, where I think the priority should be how can we preserve and enhance the green, clean, open space and fresh air that Verdugo Park is for us. So I would say that you know, the park is pretty good the way it is. I walk through it almost every day. I live just 2 blocks north of the park. I teach at Glendale College, and I walk through that park almost every day except maybe Saturday and Sunday. So it's near and dear to my heart. I think it's pretty good as is. It needs some sprucing up. So the bathroom, of course, and the playgrounds are kind of, you know, run down. I think those can be spruced up. And the community garden and things like that. But I think with this kind of money, I think we should be thinking about where we can find new opportunities for new parks, particularly in South Glendale. Can we use some of this money to buy some space and create some, you know, new park space for people in areas that have less of it? So that's one thing I would suggest. And the other thing is, if we have money to spare, I would love to see us bring that stream back. We used to have a stream going through the park before my day, so I didn't ever get to enjoy it. But we had a stream going through the park with ducks, apparently. And it doesn't seem to me that it would cost a huge amount of money to put a system in with some water and pumps, and you have water going up and down that stream bed, and you bring the ducks back. So I think that's something that would really bring families and put a smile on the face of a lot of kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing. Well done. Kathleen Cornafil. Sorry if I'm butchering that last name. What is it?
Cornafil.
Oh,
You were fine.
I did fine. Yeah,
You
thank
were
you.
fine.
Followed by Susan Wolfson.
So I've lived on Neil Drawer for 25 years. I walk in that park at least twice a day because I have dogs. There are not 40 benches over on that side, by the way, maybe 17. I think we should also look at trying to integrate what we want to do with the north with what is in the south, and particularly as a parent, I can tell you that the Shanes Park could fit very neatly next to the park that's already in the south and would provide much more shade. If any of you have had small children, having that playground that's in the blasting sun, which is what it would be in the north part of the park, just isn't what you want for these kids. These kids are characterized by kids with Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy. You want them in an area that is shadier than what we would get in the North Park, one. Two, if you're a parent with more than one kid, you want your kids to be able to play close by and be very close to the bathrooms, and that would be much better served in the South Park. I was wondering if perhaps any of you would like to come out to the park and actually see the space, because I think it's not being represented as clearly as what we see it as. And in terms of all the money that's been spent on getting plans from special designers and whatnot, why not let the people who live in the neighborhood, the people who actually really fought for the historic society or historic district on Neodrara, to come up with plans? We're the ones that live there, and we're the ones that understand the park and the people who use it.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Polanian.
Sure. For who?
Onik.
Oh, for Onik? Okay, for Mr. Bolnik. But we have...
Would the restrooms be closer if the park was in the south?
There's restrooms down at the south by the skate park.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay.
But more trees would have to be destroyed.
Yes,
If it's in the
11 of them.
south. Okay, thank you.
Are they destroyed or are they removed to another part? Okay, so two different things. Okay. Because destroyed sounds very dramatic.
Removed.
Factually incorrect. So, Susan Wolfson, followed by, I think it's Mike Mohill.
Good evening, Mayor Sinanian and council members. Pardon my voice, I've had laryngitis, but I wanted to come out tonight to talk to you as quickly as I can. The entire park is 38.18 acres, but you have not disclosed the acreage that's actually being considered. I strongly feel that the entire park should be considered in a master plan of this project of this type. It is the second largest park in the city and an irreplaceable asset for the entire community. The rationale presented for not considering the entire park, which is that the southern end is built out, to my mind is not an argument for additional amenities or reducing the open space in the northern part. Why do we need to add more amenities? The public is happy with the park as it is. What is driving this change? Replacing existing non-compliant facilities is absolutely necessary and not disputed by anyone. The staff report mentions that complete replacement of the irrigation system would add 1.2 to 1.5 million to the project cost estimates, but where is the detailed budget for the proposed options? This would be helpful in evaluating which components are most cost effective. This is particularly pertinent since you're using DIF funds which originated elsewhere in the city. We must be very judicious when diverting funds intended to alleviate impacts in one area to a different area. The public is not divided in its views. Every speaker at our commission meeting last week, except for one person who misunderstood an aspect of the proposed community building, was opposed to most of the elements of the proposed project. Their tepid support for option B only contrasts with their far greater opposition to the other options presented. Minimizing the size of the new community room and restroom building to 1,800 square feet or less is essential to preserving the character of the park. We appreciate the staff's sensitivity to the need to preserve trees. We need more trees, especially natives, not fewer. The historic village, unanimously opposed by all of the community and our entire commission, inexplicably remains on the table. Like the undead in a horror flick, it continues to chase terrified citizens down Kenyatta Boulevard. It is unacceptable to oppose public opinion on this. Please, don't be the council that ruins Verdugo Park.
Thank you. Mike Mohill, followed by Diana Greenfield, I think.
Good evening, council members. My name is Mike Mohill. Councilman Vartan Garpetian. When you were the mayor, why did you want to destroy a very beautiful passive North Glendale Verdugo Park of grass and trees for another concrete jungle? Mr. Vartan Garpetian, why did you force staff to spend our precious resources on your ill-conceived idea of a historic village in all three study versions. None of the proposals that staff has come up with would be approved by most of this community. Mr. Vartan Karpedian, you even have the audacity of spending over $3 million or more of South Glendale development impact fees for your ill-conceived idea of a historic village. For the past 10 years or so, the developments in predominantly South Glendale generated over $16 million. That's $16 million in impact fees, and this council and previous councils have illegally transferred that money north of the 134 freeway. According to state law, impact fees must be spent in the impacted areas of South Glendale. The $11 million already transferred north should have been used to develop new parks in South Glendale and not for the usage of your friends' parks north of the 134 freeway. Mr. Vartan and council members, if this council is waiting for another, is this council waiting for another lawsuit by the community in challenging the usage of impact fees? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moyho. Diana Greenfield, followed by Amy Yazeta.
Good evening, council members. Thank you very much for listening to me. I have lived in Glendale for 15 years, very close to the park. In fact, I live so close to the park that my grandchildren, when they were little, liked to say that their grandma had her very own park. And those 15 years, I have walked my dogs, like Catherine, every day, twice a day, year in, year out, and I know, as well as all these people who have spoken so eloquently, how the park is used. And I don't believe that most of the things that are being contemplated here are at all conducive to any additional enjoyment of the park, in fact, lessening it. I think the playground is the most important thing. However, I would ask if it would be possible, instead of cutting down all those trees, if it's possible to conserve some and make them part of the playground as has been done at Nibley Park, which of course is not as large, I would imagine. 10,000 square feet sounds like a lot to me. I do support the restrooms, not the community room, and the comments about the day campers using that community room is really, they're disingenuous. Those kids do not want to be inside during spring break, summer break, winter break. They do very well outside on the grass right now in the space that will probably be gone. Incidentally, the staff is very good. I see them often. They really enjoy being outside, so forget sending them inside. It's like a classroom. I don't support eliminating the road through the park. I really think it's essential to many ways the park functions.
Finish your thought.
Finished
Finish
already?
your thought.
I
2
just
minutes.
want to say thank you to this nice gentleman back there who spoke first. I agree with everything everybody has said so far tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Amy Yazeta, followed by Loretta DeLange, or DeLang.
I just want
Hi.
to quickly say, so we can stay on time, I agree with everything that everybody else has said. I've grown up in Glendale. I'm 63 years old. I used to play in that park when there was a stream. It's a fabulous park. I just say, please leave the road, because I see many families that come and they unload and get, with the park as is, and we need the open space, and please save our trees. Thank you so much for your consideration.
Best speech ever. Loretta DeLang, followed by
I wish I
Kathy.
could be that
Kathy
fast.
Chick.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you. I am Ray Brown.
Oh.
And I live at one.
Mr. Brown.
Ray.
I'm sorry, I called up Loretta DeLang.
Oh, I'm sorry, I heard.
You are on the list, so you'll be up here in just a couple of
I'm going to make
minutes.
this really short.
Awesome.
I agree with everything that everybody has said in preserving the park to the best of your ability. And if we need to divert funds to another part of the city so that people can walk to a green area, they're welcome to drive, but if they can walk and be happy in their own community where they can access green space easily, I think that would be a better use of the funds. And like everyone has said, preserve the trees, cut down on all that hard stuff, whatever that stuff is. Thank you.
Thank you. Another stellar speech. Kathy Jerka, followed by Roseanne Kalaba.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
May I have 3 minutes, please? It's a short agenda.
Why don't we go with 2 minutes and then we'll see how it goes.
Okay, give me thumbs up, I hope. So my name is Kathy Yerka, and I'm here on behalf of the Verdugo Woodlands West Homeowners Association. Verdugo Park is in the woodlands, but it is not a neighborhood park. It attracts people from all over Glendale, and we ask that you preserve the features that make it so popular. Glendale does not have a lot of green open space large enough for people to spread out and use it their own way for sports, games, and large family gatherings. People talk about passive versus active parks. The great thing about Verdugo is it combines the best of both. If built in its entirety, Plan A would add at least 50,000 square feet of concrete, asphalt, and permeable paving to the north end. We ask that you please keep new hardscape to a minimum. I want to clarify that many commenters wanted a walking path in place of the road, but Plan A removes only a part of the road and creates a new large turnaround. We ask you to keep the road in place just as it is and eliminate the proposed walking path, which is almost 20,000 square feet of hardscape. The existing road and the trail on the west side are already very popular with walkers and more peaceful than a path that runs along Cañada. Residents support a Shane's Inspiration playground of not more than 10,000 square feet, and people in this room are only for the first time hearing 31,000, and that came as quite a shock. And we also support a reduced parking lot for ADA accessible van parking, as staff have indicated. I haven't seen any design or analysis to support the destruction of 11 trees if the park is built in the south, but perhaps that has to do with the expanded size. We've opposed a new building larger than the current footprint because of impacts on sycamores, and have pointed out that there's a community room just across the street. If it can be 1,500 square feet, please keep it to that size. If in future the city opts to move a historic building, we suggest it might replace the dilapidated caretaker's house so that no open space would be lost. A restroom upgrade is needed and some picnic tables are broken. We need new ash receptacles that discourage people from lighting fires on top of them, which is very dangerous. All that work could be done without development impact fees, and I share the concern of people in this room, residents of South Glendale, and you, that there is not enough park space in the south. And we would urge, as Parks Commissioners did, that any excess funds be redirected there. So please scale back, keep it simple, and save money. I don't know the content of your emails, but I haven't spoken with anyone who's really clamoring for these changes. The most popular has been the Shane's Inspiration Playground. And I'm no expert, but I can't imagine you would need another $30,000 to create a Plan D. Just get a red pencil and cross out the unnecessary features and keep the park green and open and special. Thank you so much for your consideration.
You had your 3 minutes.
Ms. Yorka, I have a question for her. Ms. Yorka, quick question for you. Have you seen Shane's Inspiration playground?
I was at one a long time ago in Griffith Park, and I have seen some videos. I've seen.
That's okay. I just wanted to know if you've seen it lately. Thank you.
Yeah, so I've seen it, but my memory is not fresh.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, let's have Roseanne Calaba, followed by Ray Brown. Almost there.
Hi, councilman people. I've lived in the Glendale area more than 50 years. My children did go to the park for summer camp when we were working. Verdugo Park is unique. It's not just a park, it's part of the nature of Glendale. It was there when Glendale wasn't here. When the train used to come through, this is before my time even, to bring people from the east into the west coast out here. That was the Glendale, that was the Verdugo Park. And now you want to change it. We want a green park. It's beautiful the way it is. We don't want cements. We want the air, we want the trees, we want the birds. You do have to update the bathrooms, go ahead. Whatever and the road through to Coalinga is fine. And that historic village, I saw the chart there, it's everybody's saying yes, the part there on the chart, everybody's got a check mark, and nobody wants that village, and you're putting that village there. We don't want the village. There's no need for a village. Okay, that's it. We want the parks for the Shane, okay? There's basic things you need, but you want to make the parks, you mentioned different parks. You're saying we did this in this park, and this in this park, and that in that park. But Verdugo Park is not like those parks. It's here before any of us was here. And we want to leave it green and trees and birds and just a park. You know, a park like in the olden days, a park. That's what we want. And we don't want villages and buildings and cement. Thank you.
Okay, folks, please. Ray Brown, Mr. Brown's trying to get a word in. He's been waiting all this time. Followed by Ruby.
I can't hear well. That's my problem. Again, thank you for hearing us. I am Ray Brown. We lived in the Woodlands here now for 50 years, and we raised our kids here. We still use the park for extended families. We jog or walk through the park every day, depending on our mood. We used to come here during the late 40s and early 50s to be with our grandparents who lived in Glendale. And how much we have appreciated it. I would tell you that in the 60s, late 60s, we started the AYSO program, and it happened to be in Verdugo Park. We did it, and how grateful we were. We were criticized a little bit for NIMBYism, and Councilman, I had to read that. I had to learn what that word was. That we're wanting the park for ourselves. I don't believe that that's really true. When I take an example of the skate park down at the other end, over 90% of the people that use it are from out of the city. Also, on any given Sunday, you can go into the park and it's always full. You'll find that so many are not from our area at all, even out of our own city. But the park is full, and it's always being used, and people appreciate it. Yes, we do need some changes in the park. It'd be wonderful to have updated things and like the bathrooms. But maybe instead of spending the money where things don't need to be changed, we could spend it on a much more important area, such as down south in the southern part of the city. Everybody loves it. If we could just clean up the restrooms maybe, and water the lawn, trim the side of the hill, that would help. But you've read the emails, and rather than me going any deeper, we thank you. We ask you to read those and study those, and we have a wonderful park. We don't want to ruin it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ruby, followed by Sean Keshishian. Ruby Sulahian, I assume.
Good evening, Mayor Sinani and council and staff. I'll make it short. I'll try to do it for 2 minutes. I got some bullets here. Please do not remove any mature trees. Any mature trees. The pink spot that you saw and some of the green, please do not remove them. It would take us a long time to have those mature trees back. Actually, you need more trees and you need to upgrade your grass. There's a lot of patches, there's absolutely no grass, it's all muddy. Do not, I would say, do not increase the playground. If you need a chain playground, if it needs to be that size, I would suggest to put it in a different location or put it under shade environment. There's a bunch of trees on the map. It shows that you're going to take some of the trees out. So I would prefer not to remove any trees and minimize the playground. Do not add any concrete, and you want to make it passive. The north part needs to be passive. The south part is already active. You want tranquility, you want whatever it needs to be. It needs to be like a forest. It doesn't need to be more buildings, more concrete, and so forth. And I will concede on the ADA compliance for parking lots. That's beautiful. Do not increase the parking lot. That's, again, more cement. So what we want, an atmosphere where it's really like a real park. That's basically it. I'll make it short, less than 2 minutes, Mr. Sinanian.
Well done, thank you. Sean Keshishian is the last speaker tonight.
Mayor Sinanian, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, council members, I'm Sean Keshishian. I've been here in Glendale since 1983, and I use the park on almost a daily basis, maybe 5 times a week. I love to walk there. Sometimes I jog if my knees allow me to. But the most poignant question or remark was made here by Council Member Fereja Gajanyan, who said, why do we need to do anything? Why do we need to spend money on this park? It's a beautiful park. This is our Central Park. If you've been to New York, if you've seen the pictures of Central Park, this is our Central Park. We need to add more trees and have that open, beautiful space. Why do we need to destroy it? Why do we need to add parking or concrete? Yes, maybe the bathrooms need to be updated, maybe a little lighting, but it's beautiful as it is. Please, please leave it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing, but you know what? Before I do that, I want to have some questions for our staff. So a fundamental question: why are we doing this? What is the purpose? There is a purpose. Otherwise, we wouldn't embark on this.
Mayor Sinanian, members of the council, about 3 years ago, we were asked by staff and a couple of the community members to look into renovating the restrooms. That basically, when we looked in, sorry?
No, please go on. Please don't disturb.
When we looked at renovating the restrooms, we also looked into basically our wish list got bigger, such as changing the picnic tables, adding more barbecues and ash receptacles and so on. And then when we were asked to develop a DIF strategic plan, one of our projects were to, like I mentioned before, install or construct a soccer field down at the south end. That was in 2016, and when we brought the plan to council, we were asked to look at another location for soccer fields. That's why we looked at Wilson and Cerritos Elementary. That's why we have some CIP funds and recreation funds allocated. It all started with renovating the bathroom, basically, and the need for a community room where the kids can hang out during the day camp program.
So in other words, if I can sum up what you're saying, is these changes to the park are meant to make it more usable by residents.
More usable, correct, for residents. We've received a lot of requests from the community to have additional exercise equipment in our parks. We installed 7 pieces at Pelanconi just last month and another 6 at Carr. We have exercise equipment at Catalina Verdugo Mountain Dew Trail at the sports complex. We have them at Maple Park and we have them at Palmer Park. When we go out there, when I make my visits, I see them used all the time. And we would like to eventually install more exercise equipment at our parks. That's why we were requesting it as part of the master planning at Verdugo.
So it sounds like the changes may not get more of the sort of the neighborhood folks to use the park, but it will definitely get more of the folks that come up to the park, especially from South Glendale, the place where DIF funds are meant to be spent, right? And the place where we're trying, I mean, for the lack of absence of physical space, it's kind of difficult to spend DIF funds, in a sense.
Yes.
And these changes will make it more attractive, more usable, more practical for folks who are deprived of park space to be able to use it. Do I understand
Yes.
that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Do my colleagues have questions? Yes. Yes, Mr.
I
Agajanian?
wanna-
Do you want to
No, I don't
deliberate,
have
or you don't have
yeah,
no
I wanna
questions?
say-
Just wait for a second. Yes, Ms.
Oh, I
Devine?
wonder, on the Shane's Inspiration Park, do you have a picture of Maple Park that we
Shane,
have
I
one?
do not.
You do?
If I have previous PowerPoints already from previous meetings, I might.
No, not right.
I went back about it maybe a year ago.
Is it, okay, then let me ask you this, is it possible to put in a smaller park than the 30,000 square feet that is proposed?
The playground itself is 10,000.
Oh, the
With
playground?
the picnic areas,
Oh,
the walk path, the ADA accessibility, it's basically about 31,000.
when you say walk path, are you talking about the walk path all around, or are you talking about a walk path to the parking?
Walk path to the parking, to the playground, etc.
Let me just ask the same question in a
There is
different
one.
way.
This is what Maple Park is going to look like.
I mean, this is not Maple Park, so if you go back to the maybe design A, concept A, Shane's inspiration, it's not just the equipment. You need to have, because of the ADA accessibility, you need to have hardscape and walk paths around
Yes, you need
all
to
the
be-
equipment. That's why it pushes it up, that the hardscape area pushes it out from 8 or 10,000 square feet up to 30,000 square feet. That is why. It's not just that the entire playground will take place of 10,000 square feet, but because of the accessibility issue, you need to have paths that goes around the equipment, around the area to be accessible. And that's why you have, and yes, there it is. You have all the walkways and paths.
Plus, we have a large tree here. which
Right, the
is-
tree
yeah,
is there, of course.
The picnic area,
But from the blue areas, which is the equipment area, right?
yes.
These two areas? Okay, all the way around it, around both areas of those blue areas, you need to have accessible paths. right?
Accessibility, yes.
Yes. So that's why it increases the hardscape. It's not just the equipment, it's the whole thing. I'm not against Shane's inspiration or the concept or spirit of the Shane's inspiration, which is the all-inclusive playground for children, for all children. So I don't want to be misunderstood. So the reason I was asking about the size of the hardscape that comes with the Shane's inspiration is the pathway. That's all. Thank you.
If there are no more questions, I have just one last question before I close the public hearing. You know, I keep hearing this destruction of trees. Can we just get it on the record that nothing's getting destroyed, just removed?
They will be removed, and then we'll plant additional
Okay,
trees.
so, again, so let's,
Are you planting those trees that you're taking out somewhere else?
in the park.
In the park, yes.
Oh, somewhere else in the park?
Somewhere else in the park.
So again, I mean,
Okay, thank
in the public comments, the word destruction was used again, over and over again. There's just no destruction. Okay, yes, Mr. Najarian.
I'm really confused. When we're talking about removal, you're taking a saw and you're getting rid of the tree, right? You're not reboxing it. I've seen some machinery that can actually scoop down, relocate, and place in another location. You're talking about taking an axe and cutting the tree, but it'll be replaced with another tree some other location.
Oh, well, that's not removal, that kind of is destruction or
So
replacement.
I just want to make sure that
Yeah, we will remove it and plant other,
And the new trees are 24-inch boxes.
yes.
Okay, that's all I had. You have a question? Or you want comments? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Agajanian.
First,
Sorry, close the public hearing. Why don't we go with Councilmember Agajanian?
I'm very familiar with Verdugo Park. 35 years ago, my parents living in El Rito Street, and I was living on Adams, south or meet Glendale. And I had to go to my parents' house because regardless where I would go, I was a single man, and where I would go, my mom would ask me to eat breakfast at home. So I had to pass by this park every single day. So I'm very familiar with this park. And later, when my brother sold his house to Aura's parents,
Too much information. Too much information.
he purchased the house right north of Verdugo Park, walking distance, maybe 300-400 feet north of Verdugo Park. So I'm very familiar with this park since 1980s. So I agree with, fixing the bathrooms, remove whatever those sick trees or dead trees or whatever you call it. I received 31 phone calls and over 50 emails, and they walk to my studio. People walk to my studio. They know where I am, and they all complaining that what we are doing with Verdugo Park. So I didn't hear even a single person to come to me or call me or email me and say, what a great idea you guys have. I didn't hear that. So why we don't save money and to buy, if it's possible, I don't know, with the same money we can buy a space in South Glendale where everybody is recommending to us, and you can't find any space in South Glendale. People are not happy, and if we have that money, let's go and purchase a lot in South Glendale and make another mini park, such as what we have, corner of Wilson and Adams. It is so crowded, there is no room to sit. Sometimes I go there, and they want to talk to me. There is no room to sit, and somebody should stand at 80 or 90 years old, and I have to sit down and listen to them. So in my opinion, let's fix this park by removing the dead trees and whatever we have to fix on this park, and go on with our business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Ms. Devine?
Want me to go next? I shall go next. Okay. I think this is a time when we need to listen to the residents. I got an email, and someone said, less is more. And I think this is a perfect case of less is more. This is a community park. People do come from everywhere. It is known for its beauty, its tranquility, its trees, its greenery, and I too am on the side of those who don't want to destroy that green open space with more concrete, with more hardscape. We want to maintain the integrity of the park. We want to minimize the hardscape. So I'm in support of the Shane's Inspiration Park. If there's any way that we can downsize it, I'm okay with where it is because it is saving trees. And maybe some of those new trees that you're going to be planting, you can put around that area so that there will be sun or shade, rather. I am for the 5 spaces. I think it was in Plan A. Is it Plan A where you have the 5 ADA spaces by Shane's Park so that parents with kids with disabilities can park there and get the kids to the playground. I'm also for the restroom and the community room, limiting it to that smaller size, the 1,500. I'm a former teacher, and I know that sometimes kids end up inside, and our staff, Recreation, Parks and Rec, is ready to give them fabulous art classes and probably exercise classes, whatever is on the agenda. So I think the community room is a good idea. I also think it's going to benefit Kiwanis and the Rotary and all the other nonprofits in our community, even the police department with their canines and other programs that we have in the park, and that will be a good kind of a staging area for them when necessary. I think we should maintain that road going through. I don't think we need to tear up anything or put a roundabout. Just leave the road. I know I have friends that walk, and we walk through the park on that road. We walk over the park on the path, so there's plenty of space. And I know this gentleman was talking about he jogs and he walks. You know, you don't need a path to do that. You can do that in the grass, and sometimes that's a little more difficult and a little more fun. I think for renovating the community garden, and I think I'm not for the historic village. I think in order to, I think historic homes are meant to be preserved either where they are, or, I mean, I just can't see the city taking on a project like that and putting it in our park. That just doesn't make any sense to me at all. And the exercise equipment and the path, I'm against. And I'm a former physical education teacher, so I'm for exercise. But I don't think that Verdugo Park is the place to put exercise equipment. I don't think it's that kind of a park. I don't think that's it's conducive to exercise equipment. I think the people that live, you know, the people that are going to Maple Park and some of the other parks that Onig mentioned that have exercise equipment live in apartments, and you know, they just like to go sit and play cards or whatever, backgammon, and maybe go over, well, okay, we played this game, let's go over and do some exercise. I don't think that's the crowd that we get at Verdugo. I'm not sure, but I just don't want to see hardscape around that park with exercise equipment. I think we need to preserve the integrity of Verdugo Park, and so I am against the roadway turnaround, the perimeter walking path, exercise stations, historic village, etc. I agree. Let's put this money in the south. Let's do it. Let's put it in South Glendale. We have the South Glendale Community Plan coming up. It would be a good time to plan for maybe a park or look for an area for a park. It's probably going to get more dense. We're going to need a park or parks even in that area. So that would be my way of direction for staff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Najarian.
Thank you. Well, when I was a young teenager visiting from Ohio, my relatives in Hollywood took me to a park. And although Ohio is a pretty rural state, I was very much impressed with the park that they took me to. It had towering sycamores, wide, green, open spaces, and it did have a little stream bubbling or gurgling down the side. I didn't know that that was the city of Glendale. I didn't even know that was Verdugo Park until I moved to Glendale permanently in 1980. I was very much impressed with it. I just got an email from my parents who said they were former residents, reminded me that they were former residents of La Cañada. And everyone thinks La Cañada is such a great city. But they moved to Glendale. In fact, as Mr. Agajanian stated, it's true. They did buy his brother's home, which is about 500 feet from the park. So they moved from La Cañada to Glendale. Of course, Glendale is a much better city. Besides our park system, we've got our fire and our police and everything else, and our great city council. They say so. To be in Glendale because it's such an asset. A year and a half ago, I said I didn't want one tree removed from Verdugo Park, and I really mean that. I mean, those sycamores are simply majestic. That's what makes Verdugo Park what it is. I hate to see just one tree being removed for any reason. The restrooms need to be updated. I don't think, though, we should be making improvements to the park to suit the day camp programming. That's the tail wagging the dog. If day camp fits in, if day camp is able to use our park, then so be it. What a great place to spend a summer or a spring vacation.
but I don't think we need to be chasing the needs for day camp by building a large community room, and it looks like staff has already decided to scale that down. So I'm very happy with that. I'm against putting a decomposed granite pathway through the park, whether it's on the perimeter or whether it's leading in any direction. I don't think we need that at all. As far as the historic village goes, I don't see that as a reality. That, is maybe a planning exercise. Maybe the caretaker's home that is fit to be demolished may be a site for a replacement if there's an appropriate sized historic home to relocate, but I don't see locating historic homes throughout that. That's simply going to kill our park. Shane's inspiration, I have to tell you, I'm not impressed with it. I've seen the designs, I've seen the schematics. We may see something a little bit further. I don't think it provides challenge to the children. It's a series of ramps. It's a series of false little wheels that you turn around. There's so many other ways that children can be challenged. Disabled children can be challenged with their disabilities, whether it's a short a basketball hoop, or whether it's some sort of interactive feature where they can use their upper body strength if that's the part of their body that is unaffected by the disability. So I'm happy to work on some sort of design for the disabled, but really, sorry, Shane's inspiration didn't do it for me. Clearly, it has the ramps. Clearly, it's access up and down for wheelchair-ridden children. But I think there's so much more that can be done in a better way. It doesn't have to be elevated. It can be done through other sort of paths or spaces. And I think that size is just way too big. I hate to see that sort of size of almost 30,000 square feet, including the ancillary pathways, to be plopped in there. I want to keep Verdugo Park the way it is, just a few little cleanup items, get the restrooms up to date. It's enjoyed by many as it is now. I do want to see one thing, though. Where's our police department? And I live right up the street, by the way. I live right on Sunshine. Mr. Brotman ran into me a few times on one of his walks. That was weird, but that's another story. That's another story. I want the police to patrol Kalina. The Kalina stretch between Neodara and Cañada is home to some shady activity when the sun sets. Right, folks? I mean, there's all those crazy, I don't know, they're kids, but I know there's drugs going on, and there's bottles getting tossed, and there's some nasty things. So I'd like to see a greater police influence. I know they've replaced some of those lights with the LEDs. They're a little bit brighter, but we need to clean that up too. Aside from our park, let's just go a little bit more to the curb and make sure that throughout the year that's maintained and policed properly. But that's it. I don't think we need to overthink this. We're trying to, this is it's a great park the way it is. It's beautiful. If there's a way to, as someone said, re-aquify the little stream there, of course not with potable water. If there's any way to get recycled water, which we've got, I think it runs right there. Get some recycled water going. And it's not just the park. Of course, it starts from Hillside and it runs down Neodara, which is a feature which gave you your historic status. Some of those homes have nice little streams, and, well, they're dry streams now, arroyo secos, I guess, with bridges. So I'd like to see that, and it would lead into the park. I'd like to see that if that's a possibility, if the cost is not prohibitive. So that's where I am on it.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Did you say what their position was about the historic village?
I don't think we need it there, except for the caretaker's home, which is kind of dilapidated. If we have an opportunity to place, at least one historic home in place of that without intruding into the green space, I would support that.
Very well. Councilmember Garpetian?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming here tonight. It's really important for us to hear from our community. We all got the emails and phone calls, not as many phone calls as Mr. Agajanian got, but I received some phone calls as well. Look, I live in Verdugo Woodlands. I live about 3 blocks away from this park. My kids play there. We coach AYSO there. My kids, the last one, the third one, still goes to day camps. And this is a heavily used park by the community, all members of our community. I think the sycamores, I'm really disappointed that they have to be taken out because of the drought. And I don't know how many times in the last few years I was talking to our city manager and said, look, we can bring portable recycled water and water some of these trees. But it didn't happen. So we're losing some of the trees because of that. And I'm okay with many of the comments that my colleagues made. Leave the road, the decomposed granite pathways, I'm not for that either. 15 to 1,800 square feet of the area that follows the same footprint, I'm okay with that as well. But as far as the comments that was made by Mr. Mohill, I think this is why when you make wrong comments or wrong accusations, then it takes us away from the main issue. And if you talk about it, it gets bigger. If you don't say anything, after 2 or 3 weeks, it becomes a reality. So I want to make a few comments so we all would know where we stand as far as the development impact fees go and how this council as a team voted for these fees. Because we all fought for these fees and we all tried to keep every penny in South Glendale when development happened. And I was really against using the DIF development impact fees in Dukmejian Park. I was against the fees to be used in Riverwalk, on and on and on. And I was criticized by some of the members of the community that you do not want to spend these development impact fees in North Glendale. And Glendale is a Glendale, everybody uses all the parks. So we agreed to spend some of these funds in North Glendale as well, and rightfully so, to improve our parks. And development impact fees are not for renovating the existing parks or existing facilities. They can only be used for new projects, new equipment, new buildings, new parks, what have you. So it has to be for new projects. And as far as the historic village goes, the historic village, if you look at these plans, it's on a dotted line. It was a concept that came. It's not a new thing. It's not. We're not reinventing the wheel. Many of the cities have similar things. Some of them look really beautiful, and it was not that it's going to happen tomorrow for sure. We're going to take some houses and just drop it in the park. That was not the idea. And the idea of the home taker's home that is being dilapidated right now can be replaced with a historic house. What could be better than that? You preserve the house and you renovate or upgrade the park as well. As far as the Shane's Inspiration, it is taking about 31,000 square feet. Whether we can, try to justify it any way we want. And I don't know how many of you have seen the Shane's Inspiration equipment personally, but I did. I have gone to 2 locations. One is in Griffith Park. The other one is in North Hollywood. Griffith Park is an older one. North Hollywood one is almost brand new. It's a newer project. And I can tell you that it adds a lot of hardscape, and it adds the elevated ramps with railing on the side. I mean, you look at it from far, you see this huge hardscape area. Again, I'm not against the all-inclusive equipment for all kids, all children, but I have a little issue with the design of Shane's Inspiration. I think if we can look into, because going from 6,000 square feet to 30,000 square feet is a huge difference. And we all talk about keeping the green space and not losing any green space, and that's part of it. I think if we can design something, and I spoke, we were all briefed on this park this week, and I said you can build it on the ground and add a lot more play equipment for all children to use. And very quickly, I have a question for Mr. Bolanikian. We have another playground that we're building. How many features does it have, and how much does it cost?
The total project it's a Maple Park. The total project's $825. Cost, it's going to probably
Not the Shane's Inspiration. I'm talking about the regular playground.
Oh, regular playground?
There's another one that we're doing, which
we
is...
did both. We did Carr and Nibley. Both of them together were around $850.
And how many features did it have?
One had, I believe, 30, and the other one had 28, 29.
So if you have 30, if you cut it in half, it's like $300,000, and you can have maybe between 30 to 40 different play
equipment, play features, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mulanik. I think there is another way of building a playground to be all inclusive as well. So I have a little, just to make a point and let public know what I'm talking about. I have a little video. I don't know if you can run those videos, Mr. City Clerk.
Which one would you? Which of the two videos do you wish?
And they're very short. They're like 10 seconds each or 15 seconds each. If you can play both of them, I would appreciate it. The one is the old one, and one is the new one. This is the as you can see, most of them are ramp, and they have these steering wheels, if you will. This is the older one, if I'm not mistaken. It has another steering wheel there. And it's all elevated. And if you look on both sides, they're all hardscape around it. There's another ramp. And it continues. There's another steering wheel. And you can see the railing and elevated ramps and the hardscape around it. That's what makes it a lot larger than just there's steps going down.
Is this Griffith Park?
This is Griffith Park.
Built in 2000, 18 years old.
There's another steering wheel. And there's no equipment on this side. And this is the ramp that gets to the, and you can see the rest of the ramp that has to be built to get up to that level. So this is why it has a lot more hardscape than, look at the ramps. I mean, it's right there. And the other one, please. This is a new one in North Hollywood. Again, the same kind of ramps. Steering wheel. Ramps again. There's a slide that, this is the other side. Again, there are all ramps. And the features that they have, maybe 5 or 6 different features, play equipment. And these are steps that so what I'm trying to say is I'm not against the spirit of the Shane's Inspiration. I'm not against it. I want equipment for all kids, all inclusive equipment. But I think we can maybe design it differently to be on the ground, so it won't be elevated with these railings, and we can have a lot more play equipment incorporated in it, so children will enjoy it. You come by 2 times, 3 times, you have only 4 or 5 steering wheels. You think people will come back? I really don't think so. My kids will get bored right. They will never come back to that again. So I'm not really for that, the Shane Inspiration, the way it's being designed. If it can be designed that's on the ground with more features, I will be for that. I'm not for. I think we need to leave the trees, as many trees as we can, instead of just removing them tomorrow. And see, maybe they can survive. Maybe we can treat them. Maybe we can water them. I don't know. I'm not a tree expert, but sometimes the environment change, and they can survive. So, and the equipment, I don't know if you need them over there or not. If you want to have maybe 2 or 3 equipment to be in the very back where the the stream is basically. If not, I'm okay with not having that either. So that's, and the road can continue all the way. I think it's a good feature that it has to continue the road to Colina. So the police department can come in and patrol that area for Mr. Najarian. And again, I think personal attacks on these issues are very wrong, because that's not what we are here for. We are here to serve our community. We spend a lot of time and energy and taking time away from our families to go visit these sites to see what we're trying to build for our community. So, and Parks Department, we asked for a trip to Griffith Park. We asked for a trip to North Hollywood to go see these places, and they took us there, and I want to thank them as well. They spend a lot of time on this to design parks that will fit our community, and this one has a little bit of different features, but I'm okay with many of the comments. And the community room, 1,500, 1,800 square feet, is on the same footprint. So sometimes the kids come to a day camp. They're there for a few hours. They need to cool off. They need a little space to come in and cool off. So that's where I am, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. So you're not for any one of the three proposals, or something in between?
As I mentioned, I am for keeping the road. I am for having that 5. I mean, we have to see what we want to do with the play equipment over there. If we are doing a regular play equipment, you don't need the parking there, the handicap parking. But 5 handicap parking spaces or 7, it's fine. We can have that. And the equipment to be, I can't vote for the Shane's inspiration for 8, and that's a DIF fund for $800,000 as well. So as far as the historic park, historic village to go away, I'm okay with that. If the caretaker's home is dilapidated and needs a new structure, we want to bring a structure there, fine. We don't want to do it, that's fine as well. And as I mentioned, the decomposed granite pathways, I'm not for that either, because it creates a lot of different, it just breaks this park in different parts. So
okay.
I think we want to keep it, most of it the way it is, just do the improvements that we need.
Okay. I was just trying to get a gauge of whether there's consensus on some items and not others. But I'll state my position on this. So, as our Parks Director and City Manager stated, the changes that are being proposed and the motivation for the changes was to make this park more user-friendly for people, not necessarily in the neighborhood, but folks coming from other places, especially from South Glendale. Now, in connection to that, folks coming from South Glendale to use the park, I'm very excited to see all this concern for DIF not being used in North Glendale. That's great. I'm just wondering why the same concern wasn't here when $2.5 million, we were under pressure to approve $2.5 million for Duke-Majin. A park that, in practical terms, to be used by South Glendale residents is close to zero. I mean, folks from South Glendale don't get in the car and, pick up their food and barbecue, charcoal and blankets and go to Duke-Majin, but they do go to Verdugo Park. That's just a fact. It's a fact. So I think this concern is a little misplaced. It should have been placed in opposing council's approval of $2.5 million for Duke-Majin and not for Verdugo, because truly Verdugo is used heavily by residents from South Glendale, simply because there's no other park of nearly that scope and size anywhere close to South Glendale. So with that in mind, again, with the Shane's inspiration, I have visited two parks myself. I think at least one of the parks I went with our parks director, and it is true, there's a lot of concrete around. And the feature itself is rather small. It's unfortunate because you go there and you're expecting something more exciting, but I guess that's conditioned by the physical disability that the individuals that it's targeted for, that it's geared for, have. So I understand that. Again, let's make a note of the fact that DIF funds are going to be used for Shane's inspiration. So again, we're being picky and choosy where DIF can be used in the north and where it can't. We have to be principled on that. Either we're for it or we're not for it. We can't be for some of it and against another part of it. As far as the historic village, and again, I think the idea for that was to help preserve as much of historic Glendale as possible. It seems that the idea is unpopular. It does make sense for the caretaker's home. If caretaker's home is dilapidated and is falling apart and we can't find a historic home that can be moved to Verdugo Park, by the way, I assume at the developer's expense. I mean, they would bear that expense and move to park and turned over to the city to be kept in good shape and can be used by our groundskeeper. That may be a great idea. It's a win-win for everyone. There seems to be no general consensus on what it is that, is anyone ready to move a version of what's being proposed to us by staff?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I can possibly just recap maybe some of the things we heard.
So I think everyone, just one thing
Sure.
to mention, everyone's, I hope, no one's in disagreement with the fact that we need the bathrooms. And we need a version of the community center where, again, people can, especially children, can use to cool off. So with that in mind,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Beers, thank you.
Where I did hear some consensus, and Mr. Bulenikian and Garcia, please chime in where necessary. I did hear replacing the restrooms, as you said, Mr. Mayor. I heard some level of consensus. 3 or more of you said that replacing the restrooms was a good idea to move forward with. I did hear that the community room was a small version of the community room was something that the majority of the council was interested in moving forward with. I also heard that the caretaker's house, as it relates to the possibility of a historic home being moved there, is a good idea. And instead of having a historic village, the utilization of a caretaker's home with a historic home is something that you would be interested in. I also heard consensus regarding keeping the road intact. On other areas, I did not hear consensus on Shane's inspiration, did not hear consensus or even a discussion on the community garden. But if we were to keep it as is, we would clean up the community garden. There was some conversation regarding ADA parking, and if there was still a need, there may be interest in looking at that. And the picnic tables, I would say that they do need replacement. So if we were to do the restrooms and a smaller version of the community room, I would suggest that we replace the picnic tables as well, where they currently are, without changing the landscape of the park. So those are the areas I heard some level of consensus.
Yes, Mr. Najarian?
There's one thing that I forgot to mention about the park that I really love, and that is the stone wall on the southern end. I have no idea what the cost would be, and I chastised one of my colleagues last week for throwing something out at the last minute, but I'm just throwing this out, so if you want to chastise me, you can. I would love to see what a continuation of that 1 or 2 foot stone wall would be around the perimeter. You know what I'm talking about? It's flagstone. I personally think it's very attractive. If that could be extended around, I have no idea what the cost is, but maybe just let us know what the cost would be if there's
We can look into it.
engineer's estimate. I don't know if my colleagues like
there's
that, but
interest
I think
from the council.
it's a nice feature. It's what? No, I'm talking about around the perimeter.
I know.
So it goes right along. So like the balls get kicked out sometimes from that. But anyway, I'm not dying on that hill, but I think that's an attractive feature of the park that I enjoy every time I pass it.
So there's a proposal to go through sort of the items one
Sure.
by one and get a poll.
Sure, we can do that, if it's okay with you. So I'll
Yes,
go.
please.
Shane's Inspiration Playground to replace the existing playground.
No.
Mr. Najarian?
Can you keep track?
Not the Shane's Inspiration design. Playground, yes.
Yes,
Not
playground,
the-
yes.
Not the Shane's Inspiration. I was underwhelmed by their design.
Mr. Alajanian?
Yes. Playground is fine.
Playground's fine. Ms.
For
Devine?
my colleagues.
Okay, same here. Next item?
Replacing existing restroom and patio with a new restroom. And if I can do that in conjunction, because it goes together, a small community room totaling 1,500 to 1,800 square feet.
Yes.
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 Next item?
Relocating the community garden.
Yes, that puts it up sort of out of the way. It gives us more green space, right?
Yes, it'll give
Cleans
us
it
some
up
more
as
green
well.
space, it'll clean it up.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Next?
Adding ADA only parking for the Shane's Inspiration Playground.
Yes.
No, it's not necessary now, is it?
It doesn't seem as though it would be necessary at this point.
Necessary now, we're not gonna
Okay.
We might need to have some ADA access for the community room, even though it's going to be used.
5 parking is
We'll bring
fine.
that, we'll bring that to
We
you.
can-
So
We can bring it back with the schematic design.
schematic in terms of the number of
Yes.
spaces necessary for ADA. A turnaround for drop-offs as a part of the new parking lot.
No.
Truncating the existing park road to Kalina Drive. So basically, keeping the road open as
Keeping the
is
road open,
today.
yes.
Replacement of picnic tables that are currently there today
Yes. Yes.
in the north area. And adding ADA accessible picnic tables. Do we
Yes.
have those today?
They're not ADA accessible.
They're not ADA accessible.
How many?
How many would that be, Onik?
We can have 1 or 2 sections, one closer to the restroom, another one.
Let's do that.
That's
Two
fine,
sections.
yes.
Two
Yes,
sections.
2 sections.
And a new perimeter walk path.
No.
I guess that's no.
Does that cover it?
Yeah, that covers it. We would just need direction on, if we go develop a conceptual plan.
No on exercise station?
No, on the exercise equipment, yes, we got that. We're keeping the road, the caretaker's house, if we do have
I'm yes on
availability.
exercise, but I guess I'm in the minority, so.
Caretaker's home, I'm sorry, did not include because we didn't have it set up that way in terms of the possibility of
Yeah,
a
moving
historic
a
home.
historic home there.
Yes.
And the other,
How big that house gonna be?
it would need to be like for like, I would say, so it wouldn't be a larger footprint of what the caretaker's home is. It would be within the confines of where the,
And the person who owns the home will move it?
right, and would set up the
No cost to
utilities.
the city.
No cost to the city. And leaving as many trees intact as possible.
Please.
Yes. That is the,
Okay.
that is the mission of the Parks Department, that's for
Yes.
sure. But if there are trees that are either dead or in the process of dying, they will have to be removed.
And the money, the funding that we're saving, without the Shanes and without everything else, will go to the south, will be funneled to South Glendale, hopefully.
It'll be reprogrammed, and that would come to you to give us that policy direction.
Onik, do the picnic tables come with barbecues?
We'll add barbecues.
Or replacing?
We're gonna
'cause
replace the
They're a little
barbecues.
bit nasty.
Yeah, we'll replace the barbecues, we'll add additional ash receptacles,
Yeah.
and we'll replace all of the picnic tables. Since we'll probably have money left over, we'll also replace the picnic tables down at the south end. We have a number of tables that need to be replaced, we'll just replace them all.
Is that enough direction?
Someone wants to make a motion to that effect.
effect.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we also have a motion to ask DVD, David Ovolz, our consultant, to work on the schematic design and add additional money to his contract for the schematic.
Okay, are these two different motions?
Yeah, they are two different
Yeah,
motions.
so why don't we handle the first one? just
be a
hold off.
schematic design?
Well, let's vote on this while we have our plan together. There's a motion, there's a second. Mr. Agajanian, may we have the roll call, please?
Council members Agajanian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian?
Yes. Okay, Mr. Bulanikan, roll ears. Let's
Sorry?
have it. You were saying something.
Oh, no, the next motion is authorizing the city manager to execute amendment to the existing contract that we have with DVD. So if we were to go with the fourth plan, which we're not, we're gonna proceed through schematic design, through design development and construction documents.
What you're saying is that since none of the three satisfy our
We'll
motion.
go through schematic design
Okay,
of what you have proposed
right.
this evening, and then we'll come back to council for final approval.
And how much is the additional funds that
The
you?
additional through construction documents, it's 306,000, but that's with one of the three plans, since we've reduced it. That will be reduced tremendously.
We,
Want to bring that back once we have a
Can you-
better...
Yeah,
Mr.
bring
Mayor,
it back.
members of
Yeah,
council,
it's
I would suggest bringing that one, that
We
piece
can bring it
back,
back.
just based on the direction we received tonight. I'm not clear on what
Get
the
some certainty,
needs would be as
exactly.
well.
Well, we can bring it back.
Well, it
I think
seems-
we need to bring that
Yeah,
back.
and it seems we could get someone to design the community building. We don't need anyone to kind of do.
Any
a
other
whole
items on this?
study. Oh, excuse me.
I think that's it.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Bulanikan. All right, what's next on the agenda?
8C is Public Works regarding removal and replacement of the City Hall front entry steps. C1 is motion rejecting bid, authorizing the revision of the project scope for spec number 3653, and directing city clerk to advertise for bids.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Golanian.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, back in December of 2017, we solicited bids for the removal and replacement of the City Hall front entry steps. Unfortunately, we only received one bid, which was excessive. It was almost twice as much as the engineer's estimate. We are requesting that you reject the single bid that we received and authorize us to re-advertise the project in the interest of increasing interest in the project and attracting more bidders. We have increased the scope, added scope, which includes the restoration of the tiles around the entryway of the City Hall. And we have contacted some contractors that specialize in this kind of restoration, and they have indicated that they will participate in the future bid. The new engineer's estimate, including the tile facade repairs, is $150,000. So we are essentially requesting that you reject the bid and direct the city clerk to advertise for new bids.
second. If there are no questions, I'll second.
Are there any? Let me ask that first. There's none. Why don't we have the roll call? Mr.
Council members, certainly. Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian?
Yes. Next, all communications.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there'll be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report.
Fatima Choi, followed by Chinook Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you. In light of all our discussion about the park tonight, I happen to live about 5 minutes from there, so I'm happy that you are keeping it as close to the way it is. I'm here to share with you that on June 2nd, Saturday, we are going to have a community event, and it's health and how to live longer, healthier, and happier. So I do have a flyer for you. It's at our Glendale Library, and it's our community event. And I'm so delighted to have Mayor Sinanian do the opening remarks for this event. I hope that you can make it. We are going to provide some principles, some tools, some exercises for people. And I think the whole premise is healthy people equals healthy communities, and healthy communities equals healthier societies. And that's what we would like to offer to our community. And I hope that you can make it. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chinook Ramirez?
Thank you very much. First, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to start to expose the criminal gangs' license plate numbers that are involved in criminal mayhem, theft, stalkings, and ID theft, and along with financial crimes, property crimes, and crimes to the individual. These license plate numbers are number 1, 8, D as in David, D as in Dad, W as in World, 217. Next, 7, T as in Tom, U as in Umbrella, H as in Harry, 088. Next, 6, L as in Love, J as in Japan, J as in Jane, 492. Next, and last, 2, D as in David, C as in Charlie, P as in Paul, 353. Public safety must be enforced, or you will have another stinky Los Angeles city and a violent urban blight. And there is an unreported epidemic of burglaries and theft. Secondly, the Latino men who are day laborer workers that hang out at the parking lot at Dunn and Edward Paints at the corner of Jackson and Broadway, I do not trust nor care for. Over the years, as I've spoken to several of the female merchant owners here at the Broadway business storefronts, they never felt completely comfortable walking by them. Some of them even walk through the back alley so they can just avoid them. Me too. I never felt comfortable over the years walking by them. Their malicious rancho antics really pissed me off. And when they found out I was a Trump supporter, the harassment increased. We would even have verbal confrontations in Spanish. Now, over the years, I stopped at another bus stop just to avoid them. Something I should not have to do. These are grown men, yet they behave like uncivilized Latino savages with no human decency. Next, now, ladies and gentlemen, on a positive note, I arrived to my favorite place to eat where I don't have to worry that they will tamper, nor spike, nor poison my food. And that is my favorite Russian Armenian place called the Hot Spot Cafe, a pizzeria. The owners, is a family-owned business. They are so gracious, and they are excellent and have excellent customer service, and just smiles and smiles, and they cook the meals with lots of love, and their genuine appreciation with happiness to be in America. They are all terrific cooks and will cook to your specific palate's delight. I absolutely enjoy the vibrant, joyful, harmonious ambiance and the safe, wholesome environment there as well. I pray that these mom and pop's restaurant business thrives and becomes successful. Speaking about appealing, succulent, sumptuous, tasty and healing fresh meals, and one who changed the entire mode of service and nutritious cooking with complete sanitary and hygienic conditions in America and the world to satisfy and make the customers or patrons or guests whole and complete, not only in their bellies, but in their persons and their environments. It's that venerated genius and the spectacular chef, Gordon Ramsay. Now, I got some bones to pick with Mr. Chef Gordon Ramsay, and that is he cooked a delightful, hearty, chorizo, sumptuous, nutritious meals for the Royal Air Force, aviators and pilots in his native land, Britain, and within 20 minutes. And he got to fly in those high-powered supersonic jets. What a great deal, and he didn't even barf. Well, bloody hell, can this renowned chef Gordon Ramsay cook for our best of the best United States aviators and pilots, i.e. the United States Top Gun, the United States National Guard, the United States Top Secret, the United States Thunderbirds, the United States Blue Angels, and my beloved Gillespie Daredevil pilots extraordinaire, and our LA County Sheriff's pilots, and our Glendale Police Department and the LA Police Department chopper pilots? Is it possible if he can cook for all of them? Gee, that really would make me happy. And again, I would love to say God bless our honorable, brilliant, Midas touch President Donald Trump and his elegant, classy, dainty, and secret weapon First Lady Melania Trump and little Baron Trump and family. I pray for their wisdom, protection, safety, health, and happiness, that wherever they travel, from north to east and west to south, may they be safe, secure, and protected. May every angel above protect them, guide them in the direction to improve the quality of life for all legal law-abiding American citizens. And may we take depression, opiates, drugs, and gangs, and all the epidemics that are haunting and tormenting and terrorizing the American citizens that truly want to build this beautiful country back to its heydays of greatness. Again, I pray for our president and his staff and his Secret Service that they may be safe, secure, and protected. God bless America, and may God bless every one of you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Ramirez.
Thank you.
Mr. Garcia, do we have items from closed session?
2 items, Mr. Mayor.
Sir, new business?
I have a new business. I move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to enter into a professional services agreement with Caston, Lipsmith, Weber, Turner, LLP to assist the city attorney's office in with a matter. The retainer agreement shall, in addition to other provisions, contain a fee cap for the handling of said matter.
Do we have a second?
Second.
May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmembers Agajanian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Next item?
Mr. Mayor, I move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to initiate a legal proceeding in Superior Court in order to protect the city's rights with regard to certain claims. The name of the proceedings, the defendants, and the nature of the claims shall be disclosed to any person upon inquiry once the action has commenced. The city attorney is further authorized to incur any and all expenses necessary in connection with said matter.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmembers Agajanian?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Garpetian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I would like to remind everyone that we're adjourning in the memory of Frank R. Manzano, former City of Glendale attorney, city attorney for the City of Glendale. And I'm going to read his obituary into the record and then ask for a motion. Frank R. Manzano, 91, passed away peacefully on May 5th, 2018 in Gunnison, Colorado. Frank led an extraordinary life. He was born on December 14, 1926 in Hurley, New Mexico. Frank was the eldest of 7 siblings and was a star basketball player for Hurley High School. Excited to serve his country, Frank enlisted in the U.S. Army during World War II and served as a secretary to General Dwight D. Eisenhower. Following the war, Frank moved his entire family to beautiful Southern California. Frank worked 22 years for the County of Los Angeles, first as a deputy county clerk and then as court clerk. It was there that he met and married the love of his life, Marjorie. Frank and Marjorie were married for 41 loving years and had 3 children together. While working at the County of Los Angeles, Frank attended USC and received a degree in public administration. Frank then attended Southwestern University School of Law and was admitted to the California State Bar in 1966. In 1967, Frank began working for the City Attorney's Office in Glendale, California. Frank served as the City Attorney in Glendale for 12 years from 1977 through 1989. Frank enjoyed camping in his motorhome, big game fishing, world travel, and flying his Cessna 182. Frank was an exceptional man, and he will be greatly missed. Frank was preceded in death by his mother, father, 6 siblings, and his beloved wife, Marjorie. Frank is survived by his 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and his 2 great-grandchildren. We close tonight's meeting in his honor and thank him for his service to the City of Glendale. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Yes.
And we're adjourned at 9:28.